back. I mean, it was.
We're live.
You sure? Hang on.
Yeah.
Let me.
What was that one dumb song? I get knocked down again, but I got up
Right.
again.
Tub Thumping by Chumbawamba.
God, I hated that song.
That you remember that, Hobart.
Oh, I loved it.
Chumbawamba.
It's a classic.
Yeah, I posted it. Lion
I
versus
definitely
Bull.
hear you. I can definitely hear you, everybody. Only thing is, I'm seeing like one little portion of your screen or something. I don't know what that's all about.
One little. Oh, hold on. Yeah, there we go. Sorry. I made changes and forgot to apply them. There we go.
Yeah, it's right there. The lion versus the bull.
Okay. Are you putting any video on?
Yeah, eventually. I gotta rework everything. I just installed a new version of Skype, so I was forced to install it, so I have to reconfigure it. I will eventually.
All right. Okay. Well, let's get started then. Okay. So it's been a couple of weeks since our last get together. Who would like to earn a card for a retelling of the tale? Hang on a second. Yeah, nobody already has 3 cards, so it's up for grabs. Anybody wanna do a recap?
Oh, I thought max was 2 cards.
Okay, yeah, I can do a quick recap.
All right.
Okay, so we started on the outskirts of the orc camp, and Iona snuck into the camp and poisoned a bunch of the orcs, and they got sick, which was really detrimental to them because it took out probably the majority of their foot soldiers. And then we proceeded to um, assault the camp from the rear. And during this time, they also started a an assault from the wall itself. And as we were, in combat, Iona got pretty close to like the command tent, and he lit a bunch of the what I think were they were cages on fire. And eventually, it looked like he had ran a trail to the actual command tent itself, and then out of the command tent poured the Red Bull, and appeared to be like some cohorts of his, including like a spellcaster, a cleric of some sort, and some other warrior that was pretty awesome. And we had a pretty long, intense battle that at least lasted around probably 8 or 9 turns, maybe more. And eventually, um, we took down the Red Bull. And during that process, I think all of our frontline fighters at least went down once or twice. Um, and we just continually, were healing them, as well as trying to, control the crowd that was behind us. My character was able to make a suggestion to Woglik that
Woglick?
he was, or what is his name?
Wagmack.
Wagmek. Sorry, Woglik's something else. But anyways, Wagmek, he I was able to infest his mind and suggest to him that I think it was like not the Black Hand or some sort of faction that consisted of most of the orcs had betrayed him and that they were the enemy. And so Wagmek turned around and started piss pounding these sick, disgusted troops. And the sorceress actually banished him, and then we somehow got him back. And then as soon as we did, she conjured a fire elemental, and that fire elemental slayed Wagmek. So nobody really got the honors of bringing down the big ass ogre. But yeah, after a while, the actual troops of Lord Captain Torwin opened the gates, and we got them on 2 different sides and broke the siege. And I think that's the last thing that really happened.
I'd say it's worth a card. And then I don't know. You guys tell me who was the MVP of last session. I mean, there were some pretty amazing things. I mean, there was the suggestion that took out not only Wagmac, but it caused the spellcaster to divert her attention to him. I mean, there was a pretty significant fireball that took out, I think, a big chunk of troops. Anything else come to mind for folks?
As far as I was concerned, it was whoever was giving me all that healing.
Well, that's
Jesus.
probably true. I think that goes to a couple people, if I remember right.
Yeah, I think it was Hobart, myself. Somebody else healed too. I thought
I did.
maybe. Yeah, Iona. Honestly, I think that Iona should get the card just for infiltrating and put himself in harm's way, and drawing out those things, and then also for the fact that he continually he split himself into two different people, and I really thought that was maybe not combat wise, but role playing wise, that was pretty cool because they were distracted the whole time with two different Ionas.
I will concur that if there was any one action that kind of set you guys up more for success than any other, it was the idea to poison the camp.
Yeah.
And I think both Scotty, or both Cormac and Iona did that, but I think it wasn't it Iona's idea?
Yeah.
And he got the killing blow.
Oh yeah.
That's right. He
So.
did.
Okay. Well, I'm not trying to convince anybody. I mean, if others think that there was somebody else, please say so. But it kind of looks like maybe Iona was the MVP.
Works for me.
Yep, me too.
Any dissent?
Well, I agree with all those, but as far as combat went, as the actual combat went, I was relatively worthless. Had it not been for Hobart standing the charge of the initial blow, had it not been for Palmer taking blow after blow, for
Dying time after time.
Donnie also standing and taking blow after blow. If it had been pointed at anyone else, we'd have been cut to ribbons. Had I taken any of those blows, I was dead. Had, Flash taken any of those blows, it was dead. If the three of them hadn't controlled him and kept him in place, it would have been a completely different game. That could have went
should all get
total party
cards.
kill.
We should all get cards. You know what? Since it was such a big battle, and even though you didn't level, it was a significant event. I actually tend to agree with Hobart. Everybody take a card.
And I should get two because it was my idea.
Shut up, Hobart.
Do I get one for my story?
If your story's done, I mean, I assume you'll put it on World Anvil. So
It is on World Anvil.
Yeah. So take 2 cards.
Thank you, sir.
I should get one for taking the most damage.
You would always get a card then. No, that doesn't qualify. All right.
That was worth a shot. Forgetting that cheap shot when I was down and out,
Yeah, well, let's see. Okay, so we're picking up right after the events, of last session. On the side, I don't know how much you shared this already, Mike, but, Jal immediately after sawing off, rather noisily and messily, the head of Shargat the Red Bull, lifted it up to show everybody, and then went off to go collect their battle standards. In those next few moments, what are you all doing?
Dying.
Is somebody going to do something about that?
I go hit Sean with a heal. I hit Iona with a healing word.
I thought somebody had already done that.
Still dying. Yep. No.
We ended the session with him dying.
Brave Iona.
Actually,
I'll
Actually,
tap
Sean,
the heel.
haven't we done? Hasn't that happened to you before, Sean? We ended the session with you dying.
Yeah.
Pretty much every session, yeah, I'm dying. That's been multiple sessions where I'm dying. This is the 5th time I've been laid out in combat, and generally, yeah, I think there's 3 sessions where I went down and we ended the game.
Yeah, I go up on like the highest point that I can, and I proclaim, "Brave, brave Iona, you shall not have died in vain," even though he's currently being healed.
So what's going on? Like, is the army running away? Do we need to hide or get trampled? I mean, where are we at?
You know, orcs are they're scattering. They're heading out. Um, when you look back, I mean, it's dim light. You can really only see so far through the press of smoke fires, more fires raging than you remembered from before. You think in the distance that the siege weapons might be on fire again. Yeah, you're probably a quarter mile from them. Okay, but they and what look like several tents are on fire. Nobody is currently attacking the group of you. In fact, orcs are fleeing from you, going in any direction just to get away.
Raid what's left of the commander's tent.
Okay. So you head there to go do that once you get up. What are you doing, Fly? Or what
I
are you
asked
doing, Red?
if anybody else needs their pants cleaned.
Yes, I do.
I'm just going to get new ones.
I have a spell for that.
Ren, for the somatic component, you simply shake your pants out first before it completes.
I actually have a question for you, Tony. Was there anything that would Etta would allude to that Kulan had done at all? Because he had promised me that he was going to come to our aid or whatever.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
He's a liar and a loser.
So we'll I'm just looking to understand what it is that what you're doing immediately following the battle as the orcs are scattering.
So I guess I'll detect magic to clean up anything we missed, in case. Just kind of walk around.
Walk around the bodies,
Yeah.
the charred bodies that you left behind.
Yeah.
No, I mean, everything's kind of been picked up, or at least I assume they will be once you determine what they are. Like the pick that that Miles picks up. The wand of the war mage that you picked up.
Mm-hmm.
And Jal, I already know what you're doing. So what are you doing?
Wait one, Tony.
Anna?
Before I go out and pick up those standards, I do reach over and put my hand on Iona's chest and give him a healing, and say to him, "Well done. You got the killing blow." Pat him on the back and get up and go off and get the standards.
Okay. All right. So you get a little extra healing.
Yay!
All right. So while you guys are, really just trying to sort things out on the battlefield, I heard Iona's headed for the commander's tent. I assume others might be as well.
I think I probably would skip the commander's tent, and I'm going to take the Griffin while I still have it and fly towards the other troops and look for Lord Captain Torwin to inform him that we were successful in killing the Red Bull.
Okay. All right. Well, let's start with you then. You hop back on your Griffin and up into the air. I mean,
Okay.
there's fires raging everywhere out here, and smoke rising up, and you're kind of winding the Griffin through the smoke. By the way, you've never really used this before, if I'm not mistaken, and you're
No.
finding that this is it's scary as hell, but at the same time it's pretty amazing.
Okay.
The Griffin responds to the slightest touch as you wind your way through the smoke fires, and you see Lord Fell's banner and Lord Captain Torwin's bannermen in a knot, and there's no enemies around them, and in fact all the orcs are largely routing, and they're issuing commands.
Okay.
So you drop down.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I'll drop down. Probably not like right on top of them, but close enough to them that they would see me and
Oh,
hopefully
yeah.
not get startled.
You make a hell of an entrance, with your griffin's wings beating and kind of billowing smoke off to the sides. You land. Several of the guards, just form up around Lord Fell, and Lord Captain Torwin is kind of like part of Lord Fell's personal guard at this point. But when they see it's you, Lord Captain Torwin approaches with two other guards, and he says, and he just reaches out and grabs your hand and he goes, "It worked." He goes, "We've got him on the run."
Yes. I use his help to get down off of the griffin as as fancy as I can, and I say yes, it worked well. The Red Bull is dead.
He looks shocked at that. He goes, we have to tell Lord Fell.
Okay, and
So you
so
walk back to him, and
yes,
he actually looks to you to give the news.
yes, I give like the most ridiculous bow that I can, as low as I can, with one arm out to the side, and I say, "Greetings, Lord Fell. I would like to inform you that the last lion of Alatur and his companions have killed the Red Bull and routed his personal guard."
He thinks on that a moment. He actually doesn't really betray much expression, and then he kind of takes that in. I mean, he's always been a pretty stoic guy from when the few times you've really seen him in action, and at that news, he just nods deeply and he says, "I and Duke Aa salute you." He says, "In fact," he says, "let me bring him." And he says to you, collect your companions and bring them here."
I give him another bow in the same way that I did before, and I says, "As you wish," and I head back to the Griffin.
Okay. You see, I mean, you're not much of a warrior really, but you've done enough. You've done enough reading on battles that it just looks like Lord Fell's forces just plowed through the orcs. And when you look over, you can easily see the siege engines are all aflame. They couldn't really have set them up this quickly and had the blaze running this high this quickly. There's something else at play.
Okay. I'm probably thinking, or Etta would be thinking to herself that maybe this was what Kulan had planned. So, because at this point in time, I probably put a lot of stock into Kulan's abilities because he's helped me out so much. But either way, I get back on the Griffin and I head back to our group.
Okay. All right. In the meantime, you're collecting banners, Jal, and you're on a hill. It looks like one of the orcs' bannermen may have carried the banner for a while before he just dropped it and ran. So it's actually a little ways away from the camp, away from the main camp, like beyond the pickets. Is anybody with him?
With the shades out.
Is anybody with Jal on this?
I'll go with him.
Okay. Well, Rajik, you've got pretty good vision, and even though it's dim light out there, both of you can see in the distance to the south the dull glow of what you think remains of a grass fire. But on a high hilltop that's backlit by the glow of that grass fire is smoke wreathing around what looks like a small contingent of men holding a banner. Make a history check, either one of you. You can make it. You can make it un. Can make it un. What do you call it? Without proficiency. Yeah.
Let me find my character here.
History, not so good at.
Where am I? Oh, there we are. Stand by.
Ragic, you think it's the heraldry of the Joe Rays. You can see the yellow. You can see what looks like. Gee, Christmas is terrible. You think it's a symbol of the Joe Rays. Like you can see yellow, you can see white, you can see what looks like a black blob in the middle of it.
That would be a mace.
Ask him, is that the Joe Race?
And you are having a harder time identifying it, Joel, probably just because it's so dark out. But you see, you do see there is some sort of a banner being held up, and from what you can tell, there might be 50 or more men out there.
That's the Marines.
It's probably, I mean, at this point, it's probably half a mile. I mean, you could barely make out much of anything. Might not be quite that far, but anything you guys do? They don't seem like they're racing down the hill. They seem like they're massed on that hill.
Yeah.
Pick up the banner and head back to the camp to let everybody know that Joe Rays, the troops of Joe Rays, are on an adjacent hillside.
Okay. As you pick up the banner, Jal, both of you notice there's like a slight stirring on the hill. And in the dim light, it looks like one large form starts to run toward you. As it gets a little closer, it resolves, and it looks like a rider on horseback. And eventually you see that rider. I mean, they're not really riding. They're sort of laid over the back of the horse. And
okay.
You
intercept.
It's kind of coming generally toward you. You intercept, and you see that it's a human, laid out over the horse, wearing chain armor, and face is bloody. They look unconscious. You recognize him as Sir Hunfried, which is one of Captain Torwin's personal guard, and a stalwart knight.
Give him a healing.
Okay. All right. He starts to come to. Ragic, you look back over across that hill, and you see one figure that comes forward. Now, at this range, it's difficult to really even, it's becoming increasingly difficult to even make out colors. But you think it's a somewhat familiar figure, larger than most men, bald-headed. You think that he might be a half-orc, kind of like you.
Mala.
But he's also wearing heavy plate armor. He takes his helmet off, and you think Captain Ortiz.
Hi.
The guy from Camp Arnston. Remember you guys captured him and took him back.
You're carrying his sword.
Right. Cord's Rage, I think, is the name of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's across his back.
He just kind of holds his helmet off to the side and just kind of stares off in your direction until the horse carrying Sir Hunfried is intercepted by you guys, and then he puts his helmet back on, and you're watching the whole time as he's taking care Jal is taking care of the knight as they all head back south.
Okay.
Until they're out of visual range. Sir Hunford, he rouses, and once he realizes what's going on, he tells you that he watched all of his men finally get surrounded and brought down. He goes, they were all killed, all but me. He says, I think he intended to ransom me. He goes, I don't understand. He goes, did you pay for my return?
No. We did not. He simply set you on a horse and sent you over to us.
Okay. Well, he doesn't say anything more. I mean, he's pretty banged up. He tries to get up on his horse, and you see he's pretty badly lamed.
It's a trick. Get an axe.
So this is the guy.
I got one.
This guy was the captain of that cavalry that we left behind.
Yeah, the 6 guys that were supposed to keep them busy.
Yeah, he was one of them.
Well, I guess they kept him busy. Thanks, guys.
You can't get on the horse I was carrying.
Okay. No, his pride won't let him. He's like, please, just help me get up onto the horse.
I'll pick him up, put him on the horse then.
Okay, you do. All right, so the 3 of you now head back to the remainder of the group. Iona, you once you get back to your senses, you steal into this, Commander Shargat's tent. There's a cache of weapons, quite a bit of treasure, and a lot of maps and crude writing. What languages do you speak? Or
Doesn't matter. I bag them all.
You just bag it all. Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah,
The other thing
I bag all the writing and the maps and anything of literature at this point. Not for the point of me reading it, but just for getting a hold of it.
Rin, there is one more item in the tent that radiates magic that you pick up while he's bagging everything else up.
Yeah, all right. Check it out.
It's a small bit of like an obsidian stone, probably no bigger around than like a large coin. Okay, but in the face of the coin is a skull.
Is it what?
A skull.
Oh, okay. I'll spend time with that later to figure out what it is.
Okay.
Tony, last session you said there was a chest with treasure in it.
Yes. Yep. That's what I was just telling.
Okay.
What I was telling Iona. Yep. Okay, about that time.
Did you post that those numbers once before?
You'll understand in a moment.
Hey, I want to do something while this is all going on, Tony.
Yeah. What's that?
So I use my shiny new spell, and in Orcish I start in Orcish, but with a human accent, so it's very clear this is a human yelling across this battlefield that the Red Bull has been slain by Jalmala the Tinker. Flee 10 on your life, and just repeat variations of that until the horde's pretty much gone.
Okay.
But definitely who did it.
Wait,
It was Iona.
the assassins. Send the assassins after Jalmala.
Those of
There you go.
those of you who do not speak Orcish, which I think are most of you, have no idea what he's saying. But he's shouting it loudly and viciously, pretty much in all directions this side of the river.
I understand Orc. I said, no, it was Iona. It wasn't me.
Yeah.
So then,
I don't know.
about
10,
5 minutes later,
12?
you see the large wings of a griffin come flying back, and you see that Edda has returned.
Archer.
About that same time, so have you, Jal, and Rajic, along with Sir Hunfred.
Get Sir Humphrey a drink of water or something stronger if we can find it.
No, don't drink out of that. Don't drink out of that one.
Right.
You don't want to drink out of those. Just leave those.
Yeah.
In fact, hit those with the axe, would you?
Yeah, you have no idea what inside the commander's tent would be safe. I mean, there's definitely like a little bit of artwork and some bottles of some sort of liquor, but and that you didn't poison any of those, but you haven't had a chance to catch up with Cormac to see what he might have poisoned. So you just at this point you don't trust anything.
Smart.
So Edda, do you tell him about Lord Fell?
Yeah, I come flying in and land quickly, but I don't get off the mount at all. And, I look, or I try to make sure that I'm, in the middle of everybody, and I loudly proclaim that Lord Fell requests our presence.
La-di-da.
So
I'm sure he's headed to the commander's tent as it is, so he'll get here eventually.
I pretty much tell him that I don't think that that he is moving any farther than he is now, and that he wishes us to come to him.
All right. Once I
So-
finish looting.
Okay, yeah, you
By all means, I get off my mountain and join him.
just
You,
give me the box. I'll carry it.
you find that there's a lot of stuff. I mean, you find a hand cart and pile it high. So you guys take that and head back to the location of the Duke, as
Okay, but first
Etta described.
we divvy out piles of these gems into everybody's pockets.
Right.
You don't want anything more being confiscated.
Let's just make sure we get out of this with something. So all the gems that we could pile into bags and pockets go into our bags and pockets.
Oh, calm down. You get your shit confiscated one time, and you get all pissy about it.
Hey, you learn your lesson.
All right. So you guys get there, and among the men that are guarding Lord Fell, and you see Lord Captain Torwin among them, there's another man, and he's conversing with Lord Fell when you arrive. Let's see, Jal, I'll let you make an investigation roll, even if it's
All right.
untrained.
Stand by.
Mark.
As we march in, just so we cover this, the lion seems to glow.
Oh, okay.
And his footsteps shake the earth.
Lord,
Holy shit.
you don't know what's going on, Jal.
I'm afraid to take a step. The hell?
Jal, it takes you a minute as you guys are trudging up the path, or this cart path that you're taking, trying to figure out who this guy is. And he's tall. He's probably a little over 6 feet tall. Darkly bronze skin, medium build. He has shoulder-length dark hair, and it's streaked with silver, and he's got a short beard that has also got a little bit of silver in it. And he's wearing really fine clothing, and it's at this point that you kind of understand, or you think you know who he is. The clothing he's wearing is exceptionally fine, and it is in a particular pattern that is of the Wee tribe, your tribe.
Oh,
He's got finely worked leather armor, and it's got gilded griffins and lions on it. And he's got a like a little circlet around his head. And you see small griffins running rampant with these little tiny ruby-studded eyes on it. And you're like, that's Duke AA.
it's the Duke.
It's the Duke. Like, I mean, you didn't even know he was here.
Well, Joel looks all the conquering hero on the way in.
Yeah, so you guys go striding in. Jolly, you can't help it. I mean, like, you've stopped for a bit, because you're like, boom, boom. And you're like, well, I guess I got to keep going. So then you just boom, boom.
I gotta go with it.
Right?
Go with the flow.
You go striding into camp, or striding into this little defensive area that Lord Fell has has got set up, and he and who is presumably the Duke turn to face you as you recognize who he is. What do you do, Joel?
I go down on one knee and bow my head. Said, Your Grace.
Okay. Now the rest of you haven't seen this guy. before. I mean, when you see somebody with a circlet around their head, you're kind of like, okay, well, maybe he's royalty or whatever. But Jal immediately drops to his knees. What do the rest of you do?
You know why you know he's royalty? It got shit all over him.
That's the one. You got it. He's not covered in shit.
I lob a scimitar at him. See what happens.
Right.
I
But you're
follow
not a
suit.
watery bait.
Mhm.
Oh, you follow. Okay, all right. What about the rest of you guys?
I do the same bow that I did before.
Yeah, is this guy? Is that who this guy is, or should I make an investigations check too?
Yeah, you would know.
Okay.
Yeah, you know him by reputation.
And the correct course of action is to bow.
No, the correct course of action is to take a bloody knee.
Oh. Psst, Iona. Take a knee, dude. I take a knee.
Well, after they do it, I think I get the hint
Yeah.
and take it as well.
Looking
Right.
around,
Yeah.
like
oh
okay.
shit.
I probably look around going, what?
The group of men, the guards, they fan out, and Lord Fell just kind of stays put. But this guy steps forward, and he looks around at the group of you, and he says, "I would know the people who broke the siege against the last city flying my banners, and I would have them know me as well. You've all done your country a great service this day, and Lord Fell tells me you've already proven yourselves many times over. Heroes of Redspan." He says, "Nay, you're the heroes of Tenh."
Ooh, we got upgraded.
Yeah,
That's right.
he kind of walks around and checks you guys out. You see he stops in front of you, Miles, when he sees your shield, and he goes, Lieutenant Miles Crowden, last of the Battle Crows. I knew your father quite well. There's,
An honor. Sure.
he says, stand, all of you, please. He says, I would ask you a question. He says, why have you attached yourself to these men and women, rather than rejoin the ranks?
They were taking
Go ahead.
I just respond. They were taking the fight to the enemy.
He nods. He seems to accept that. He didn't. You honestly don't think he was asking like in an accusatory way, like as if you had,
Right.
abandoned your post or anything. So, okay, he accepts that and he kind of moves on. He stops in front of you, Rin. He says, Renethus Glinolin. He goes, the son of Calamerneth. He says, your master is perhaps my most trusted advisor. He speaks highly of you, quite highly. And I'm told your gifts have aided this band in accomplishing tasks far outstripping the capabilities of other men.
Oh, yes.
Thank you,
And
sir.
he's smart too.
Thank you, sir. Really,
He looks over.
Really, it was all my familiar.
He looks
Who's
over
dead
to
now?
you. He looks over to you, Iona. Right next to him, and he says, "Iona, I believe." He says, "I know little more than your name." He goes, "Indeed, I'm not even confident of that, but I am assured that you are unfailingly loyal to Tenh, and that you have been an invaluable asset to the realm." He says, "Thank you."
I just nod.
At that point, he kind of looks around and he spots like the biggest, most hulking dude in the bunch of you, Rajic, and he comes walking over to you and he says,
Oh crap.
"Rajic."
No, I'm not a prisoner.
he says, "To the dungeons." No. He says, known as Bare Shoulders. So he says, although in some circles I hear you are known as the Orc. He says, as a foreigner, and I suspect an outcast, even among your own people, you've done greater service for my country than many of my own people. He goes, if you would have it, I would name you a citizen of my country. He says, and he looks around and he goes, I know. He goes, but it'll be worth a lot more when we rebuild it. I promise you. He
It's
goes,
kind of nod.
I would name you a friend of the realm, so that all would know.
Kind of nod.
Put you in a higher tax bracket.
That's right.
It's what I'm really thinking. It's better than jail.
That's probably true. Yeah. Okay. He comes over next to Cormac, and he says, "Lord Cormac del Bortham," he goes, "I am fighting the hardest battle of my life among your countrymen, simply to make them care about our plight here in Tenh. Your people are a tough and stubborn breed, and I hope to win them over. Perhaps you can help me in this effort with a well-placed letter." And Cormac's like, not sure how well received that would be, Your Grace, but I will do that. You just tell me how. So he seems to take that in stride, and he comes to you, Edda, and he says, "Edda Rowbottom, the River Rose, I am told that your voice is lovelier even than yourself, and yet you risk that flower being crushed among these hardened men in their vicious battles. I knew your father." Go ahead. What were you going to?
No. I don't say anything as soon as he says that.
I'd say from the back row, though, that flower's got many thorns.
People all around chuckle a bit when you say that, Iona, including some of the guard.
She can be prickly.
Yeah. And he goes on to say, after a bit of a pause, he goes, "I knew your father, as I know Hemshan. Both good men. You do him proud."
I kind of blush at that a little bit, and I say, "Thank you, my lord."
He just nods. And finally, he stops in front of Jal. Like he sort of settles himself. Like he was kind of pacing before, but this is where he's chosen to kind of, finish whatever it is he has to say. You kind of have that sense, Jal. And he says, after a long breath, he says, "Sir Jal Mala, I understand you are of my own tribe, of those hardy hillmen of Calbut. The people there never cease to impress me, and you are indeed a prime example of that resilience and integrity. You have avenged the lions of Alatur, so Lord Fell says, and Bjorn Halloran, who I knew of by reputation, against a cruel and dangerous foe that has festered in the mountains looking out over our lands for far too long. You have earned rest and reward, Jal, son of Gran. Indeed, you all have. And yet I need more from you. Lord Fell has his hands full rebuilding Redspan, and most of Tenh lies in ruin. Its fields fallow, its mines stripped of resources by invading hordes. In the wake of armies, bandits now run loose across the country." He sort of monologues for a moment. He says, "I have not been here, and I have been needed. Tenh bleeds. I would rather wield a sword than a pen, but alas, my advisors tell me I am needed most in court right now, securing necessary support so that I can return in force." He looks back to Lord Fell and he says, "Lord Fell has kept in trust the trove you uncovered earlier within Redspan." He says, "Now I would release it to you for my purpose, for our purpose, along with that there," as he points to the cart. He turns back to you, Jal, and he says, not in a lower voice, but clearly addressing you, and he says, "Jal, your name is on the lips of my subjects in Radagast City as well as in Redspan." He goes, "I would not be surprised if your fame is spread to the holdouts in the woods, hills, mountains of, the farthest reaches of our realm at this point. Take the bounty I offer. Carve out a bastion of order in this sea of chaos. Together, let us retake Tenh from the Stonehold, from the Frusti, from the Jorays, from the bloody grip of Ayuz himself. Even the Palish must be pushed out. Will you do this with me?"
Your Grace, I'm overwhelmed. I did not carry this battle by myself. The heroes deserve as much credit as I. And here is the head of the Red Bull, and I put it down in front of him. Compliments of the heroes. For it took all of us to do it.
He nods his head, and he strokes his beard a moment. He says, I know this. He looks around at the group of you. He says, yeah, I can see it clearly. He says, you are a tight knit band of companions. He says, and yet he goes, I know not how. He says, people speak of you, Jal,
You disappeared.
at the sight of your red lion
Okay.
in awe, in fear, and with hope. He says, who am I to stand in front of that? Who am I to belittle that? He says, you represent a beacon in the dark. He says, will you take that up? Will you drive that forward? Will you give the people hope?
Look around at my companions. Try to get a read on them.
No, can we just take the cart and go?
I can
We're
fucking
out.
retire.
Ever the pragmatist.
I got bills to pay.
I give him a nod.
Yeah.
All right. Yes, Your Grace.
We all put our hands in the middle for the team.
The team deal, yeah.
No, we don't.
Where's Quillum?
Yeah.
He's the only one that's died more times than I have.
Yeah.
He says, excellent. He says, Sir Jal, we will speak again. He says, at the moment, though, my time is limited, and I need time with Lord Fell to talk of the next few days and weeks. He says, the men will prepare a path for you back to the city where you can rest and replenish yourselves. He says, Lord Fell will be in touch.
As you will, Your Grace.
And you kind of get the sense that you've been dismissed. And he turns and heads back to consult with Lord Fell. You see Lord Captain Torwin approaches you guys. He,
Oh, the coward.
you,
No, that's what I'm thinking.
who are you? Who are you doing
Hide
it to?
over here.
Cat.
Sneaky.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So he comes up to you, Jal, and he says, "All right." He says, "Why don't we get a guard for you, and you guys can get back into the city."
That head is vengeance for Bjorn Halloran. You want to stick it on a stake?
He picks it up. He goes, "We're gonna." He says, "We'll preserve it in pitch and put it on the walls.
Outstanding.
It'll have a place of particular honor among several other orcish heads."
Outstanding.
Yeah.
As you guys are headed back into the city via escort, Ed, do you go with them? Like, do you collapse the Griffin, or do you fly back to the city, or what do you do?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and collapse the Griffin.
Okay. So as you're walking with the group, you hear some of the men talking about how easy it was to get back, or how easy it was to overrun the orcs at the lines. Several things that occurred they didn't understand. One was the siege equipment was already ablaze when they got there, and many of the orcs came running out of their tents with no weapons. When they went through the lines and got to the where the orcs had quartered themselves, many of the orcs had their throats slit in their tents.
Oh.
Of course, they also talk about orcs that they were able to easily incapacitate because they were already retching and vomiting violently.
As we get back close to the wall, Jaw is again shining and his feet are rumbling the ground. And now I add trumpets of fanfare.
Oh my God. You're a good front man, Iona. Man.
Oh no, I'm in the back. You're in front. It's all you, man.
Jesus.
Nobody follows a rogue, dude. Everybody follows the glorious knight.
Iona, as you're doing this stuff, you hear a familiar bird call in the distance, like an owl, yet not an owl. And you thought you had seen some figures not too far away, kind of flitting around on rooftops, but you eventually see that Cordelia is out there, and you also see one of your other companions from the Crows. They're she's out there. You see she holds up a quiver that is empty of arrows and a thumbs up. Her concession to declaring victory.
I hold up a very heavy bag, just kind of lift it off to the side and smile.
Even from there, you can see her eyes widen in the dark.
I do want to say one thing. Circling back to the MVP from the beginning, by the way, I think Smoke should get a card, but Cormac shouldn't for not for not saving me on round 2 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Smoke should be an MVP.
Good pet, bad owner.
That's right.
Yep.
Sorry, I didn't interrupt there.
No, it's fine. Yeah, you guys get resettled. One of the things that you find is that the Argus was able to limp back to port, but just barely. It was taking water. Much of its rigging and even some of its timbers were burned. Cormac ends up coming back and telling you guys that it's going to take long weeks for the Argus to be seaworthy again, or to be waterworthy again.
And how much cost?
Oh, are you going to pay it?
I want to know before I agree to that.
Well, give me a moment.
It's going to be Cormac paying for that one.
Yeah, out of his share.
Yeah. And out of his bedtime.
Yeah, that's it.
His
It
bed
was his
share.
fault.
That's right.
Give me a second.
Time to do his duty.
To the booty.
That's the one.
Well, my diet was going good this week.
Where did I have that?
There she is. Hot.
Okay. You guys come back. Really, it's almost the wee morning hours, but you find that the city is
Wide awake.
It's in celebration. Yeah, I mean everybody's out in the streets. Drinks are flowing. People, with what little is left, people are, they're hooting and hollering. Definitely, I mean, celebration everywhere that you find.
Flash, don't you also have the spell for what's the other not the thaumaturgy spell, but what's the other spell? Prestidigitation.
Yeah, I do have it.
So can you do little fireworks around y'all?
Indeed,
Oh my God.
I can, yes.
Oh my God.
Little puffs of smoke and
Fireworks, little
fireworks,
sparks
yes.
of light. Yeah.
Yes,
So yeah, so as he strides forward, he always has like smoke billowing out from behind him.
yeah. Sparks
Jesus.
over his head.
Trumpet fanfare. He glows.
Well, so you find it actually takes you a long, long time to get back home because you just constantly have a crowd around you at all times. you know, you guys actually have to almost fight people off. Like everybody wants like a little piece of fabric from the edge of Jaw's cloak, or something like that. I mean, it's just it's people have gone crazy, and I mean everybody is, yeah. I mean it seems like the city is in a flaming case of hero worship.
Oh Lord.
We give it a hero to worship.
So I take it, Jaw, you're trying to work your way to the keep so you can get a decent night's rest.
Indeed.
No, we have our own house.
You do?
We have our own house, of which I do hereby think that we should rename it the Lion's Den.
Yeah.
That's
At some point in the future, that'll be your embassy in Redspan.
that sounds like it should come with a bunch of ladies too, with as the Lion's Den.
Exactly.
Etta rolls her eyes at this.
You haven't let me work yet.
Well, I have the first 2 trophies for our house.
Jesus. Well, look,
The
Jesus.
banners from the Red Bull and the Orcs.
You ended up with a banner of the Black Hand and another banner of Ayu's. So wherever you guys got rest that night, unless there's something else that you guys want to do during that evening. I mean, there's not many hours left of night.
I need to go to the temple at some point, Tony, and give thanks to Alator.
Okay, well, I assume you'll do that during the day.
Okay.
Did everybody stay together then at the Lion's Den?
Yes, I do.
Sure.
You don't have to pay for it.
Well,
It's already paid for.
And it's a huge home with many rooms. It's a manor. I mean, it's probably got well over a dozen rooms. Although you're sorely lacking in staff at the moment, like you have done.
Like
But,
that's going to take long to fix.
Well, right. Yeah. Iona, your stone buzzes in your pocket, waking you up after you've only, unfortunately, had just a few hours of sleep.
Okay. I listen to it.
Okay. Message comes through. It's clearly the master. And he says, bring all your companions to the keep for the noonday meal. That's all he says.
All right. I go start waking everybody up.
You find it actually is a little late in the morning.
Yep. I start getting everybody up.
Do we have enough time for a long rest?
Yeah. Good enough.
It'll work.
Yay!
Hit points.
Hit points are good.
So yeah, you guys all end up at the keep, Castle Redspan, and the guards escort you straight into Lord Fell's private chambers. You see Lord Fell, Lord Captain Torwin, Lord Fell's Seneschal. You do not see Duke Aye. Lord Fell, once you guys are all assembled, he's got tables set up in here, like extra tables, so you clearly know you're intended to sit. He sits down, so you're like, okay, we can sit down now. And food is brought out, and you guys start feasting. And finally, after you've had a little bit to eat and drink, Lord Fell says, Sir Jal, and he kind of waves to encompass all of you. He says, the Duke has entrusted me to deliver back to you the valuables that were recovered from the home you now inhabit. However, they're to be put to use for the realm. He says, I trust all of you, you especially, Sir Jal, to ensure that the spirit, not just the letter of the Duke's words, be fulfilled by this. He says, we have communication with Braycott to the east. Even that sparing. He goes, it's a small walled town at the edge of the Fostwood. He goes beyond that. We have only a limited bit of intel, very, very limited. He says pretty much everything north of us is either in ruins or occupied by orcs or worse. He says further to the east, beyond Harpenter, is Atherstone. Our intelligence indicates that Atherstone is occupied currently by the Theocracy of the Pale.
Isn't that where you needed to go, Rin? For the sword?
Possibly. I have to go back.
Are you talking about this in the room?
I mentioned it under my breath to him. To Rin.
I give a no, not here.
Okay. Okay.
I don't think anybody should know if we decide to go after these that I don't think I think there are people who would not want that to occur.
So Lord Fell says, I tell you all of these things. He says, because I want to help you in making the best decision with what intelligence we have on where you go next. He says, we have a lot of work to do to retake Tenh. He says, the Duke believes that to retake Nevon Nevnend will be quite an undertaking. He has intelligence indicating that the city is, while ruined, fully occupied by the Stonefists. So are High Hadley and Calbit. He says, actually, Calbit, as we understand, is currently occupied by the Frusti. He says, and he looks to you, and he says, I understand that this is your homeland, Jal. He says, I want to ensure that wherever you go next, that your talents, your lives, and these funds are not used poorly. He says, I do not think that Calbit is ready for your return. Not yet.
A lot of land in between.
Exactly.
Can we get the other map?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just about to ask. Not in service.
Just so I understand what we're talking about.
Yeah. In fact, he pulls one out.
Good call.
I know where, I have an idea where Nevon Ned, but I don't know the other.
Calbit's up in the northeast, way up near the pass of, Pass of Skulls or whatever it was?
Well, there's a shitload between here and there then.
Yes.
Ah, there we go. There we go. Now we can see.
Yeah, Nevon Nevnand is
way up there.
Way up there.
I don't have any markings on the map other than little.
Well, I'll help you out there, Sean. This is Calbit.
So, Tony, what they're asking for here is for us to go out and set up an outpost, basically.
Yes.
What did he
So
what did he say about Braycott? Since that's the closest.
we are here, right?
No, we are down here.
We're down here.
Yeah, we're down here.
Yep.
Oh, hey, we even have a marker.
Yeah.
That's where we're at.
Yeah.
That's Red Span. Yeah, Braycott, he says what we know about Braycott is that woodmen still inhabit it, and they seem to have perhaps repelled Orcish or other invaders. We don't know how for how long. He goes, but they're a tough and hardy folk. He goes, and it could well be that they're getting assistance from elves and the the what they call the Moon Reavers. He goes, clans of halflings and Grugak living in the Fostwood, or at least allowing them to live there.
Excuse me.
He says there's several forts along the path to Harpenter. He says, and then if you continue around the Fostwood, he says eventually you'll hit Atherstone. He says Atherstone is strategic in that it has always been a wealthy city trading with the Palish. He says if you go down a little further south from Atherstone, south and east, he says you get to Wintershiven. He goes, Wintershiven is the seat of power within the theocracy of the Pale. He says, I understand from the Duke that he's received missives from the Pale indicating that they took Atherstone to secure their own borders. And he kind of puts emphasis on that, as kind of a way of saying like he doesn't buy that shit at all.
So this is the camp here that we took from the Bandit Kingdom, or that we sacked in the Bandit Kingdom, right?
Yep.
Camp Arnston. Yep.
What is this?
Hang on. I had to
Joe-raised.
reload. I'm reloading. Momentito.
Straight south.
This is a really nice map.
Ah, yes, he says. Give me a second here. And by the way, you guys can write on this map. That's perfectly fine. He says that is. Oh, damn it.
The bearded clam. Write it back down.
Nope. Knock it off.
I will reopen that bar.
He says that is the city of Falshate.
So the orcs are in retreat, right? That army does not look like it's regrouping.
The one that was besieging the city. He goes, you've broken it.
Okay, so the real closest threat to this city then is the Bandit Kingdom, which we've already seen their intent to mess with us, right?
He says, are you suggesting assaulting Falshate?
Kingmaker.
Just
yeah.
putting out there that
Yeah.
we've lessened the threat from the north, but the threat from the south still exists.
He says it does. He says the Duke intends to send whatever ships he can muster, mercenaries, to patrol the rivers, to patrol the Artansame, to provide us more protection from Joe-rays.
So you don't expect them to be able to gather together enough to be a real threat.
He says, this is just me surmising. He goes, but I believe that at this point, somehow, some way, Shargat was the glue holding together several forces. He says, I'm not going to suggest that, some new figurehead will not arise. He goes, I expect it will. He goes, we need to be in a stronger position. He says, I have my orders. He says, I will receive the support I need to secure the borders on this side.
Okay. So point being is that we're ordered to go north.
The southwest is mine.
All right. Well, see, that I didn't know. So then the next closest place is this Braycott.
He says Braycott has traditionally been, part of, part of the lands of Redspan. Part of my barony. He goes, but we haven't been able to make contact with them while we've been under siege. He goes, my intention is to send a delegate there, or send a delegation there. He goes, if you'd like to accompany them, he says, I would love the additional protection. He says, I would expect you would look at Harpenter or beyond.
And this is the Fosswood to the east and southeast of us.
Yeah.
What is this? North.
Hang on. Yep. That is the town of Watton.
And is there anything important about Watton? I mean, obviously it's a town here at the crossroads.
He says, also at the very edge of my barony. He says, an agricultural town. He says, a lot of cattle, sheep, some other crops. He says, but we haven't had any contact with them. He says, I suspect that, the fields are fallow, the herd's slaughtered. He goes, I fear the worst.
Well, if he's dealing with Braycott, to me, this seems like right where the enemy is headed. They're going to retreat this way to go right back through the pass.
Well, he points up to the north, well above Nevon Nevned, up into this region way up here. He goes,
Yeah.
This is where the Black Hand came from, initially.
Right? Through this pass up here just north of it.
What are the three little black and yellow squares?
Forts.
Forts. Okay.
Along that path. Yeah,
Yeah.
those are known as the Gleaming Spires.
And do we know if they're occupied or not?
No.
Oh, I'm sure they're occupied, but not by us.
No, we don't know. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, Lord Fell, we don't have intel on that.
All right.
The only intel we have on Atherstone is simply because, I believe, there's been communication between Duke Aye and the Pale. So he motions for guards who bring into like the center of the room, which he's kept clear, chest after chest after chest of gold. Iona, I mean, you've been trained to be able to assess this sort of thing, and you think that there's got to be, just hundreds of thousands of gold coins.
I whisper into Rin's ear, we're loaded. Dude, we made it. We're loaded.
Where do they keep all this money?
We hit the mother load.
That's right.
They took it away from us.
So, Tony, are we looking at this map? Are we getting the impression from Lord Fell that Harpender is the first town outside of his control?
To the west or to the east, yes. He says Atherstone controlled Harpenter,
I think to the east, maybe?
and there would be
Kinda
the Duke's
Harpender's
men
there.
would ride between many of these areas, or many,
What's that?
between towns, between Braycott and Harpenter, and they would man the Gleaming Spires. He says, but obviously, when he left, and what few forces that he had that remained, they went with him to Radagast City. No one is manning the Gleaming Spires. No 10 forces are manning the Gleaming Spires. He says, if you're on your way to
there, that sounds fun.
If you're on your way to Harpender, he says, once you perhaps once you verify that Braycott is still under 10 control, then I would say take the road to Harpender and roust out anything you find in between.
That sounds like fun to me.
Take the road, he said. Clear out the freaking forts, he said. Sure, sounds like fun. Right down the path where everybody expects you to be.
He says, no one will be expecting you.
Well, is he going to occupy them after they're cleared?
Do you ask him that?
Yes.
Yes. Is that your plan, my lord, to send troops to occupy the spires after they are cleared?
No. He says, I wish I could say that I would. He says, but I simply don't have the manpower. He says, I've got to keep the river open to trade. He says, I've got to rebuild the walls in some of these areas. I've got to reestablish trade with Braycott. He says, and eventually I've got to get my way up to Watan. He goes, the spires are really at the edges of my territory. He goes, if I can send men there, it would only be on a patrol, not the garrison.
I got you. So our first goal guy is Harbinger.
I think Braycott should be the first.
So let me get this straight. This is stupid. We're supposed to go up to Braycott, which he's sending somebody up there, which I get that part because there's possibly allies there. But then swing through and clear out 3 forts that we aren't going to bother to occupy.
I was thinking we go up the road north of there and then east over to Harbinger and leave the forts alone.
So why fucking bother if we aren't going to do anything with them and we're just going to leave them for the next jackass to come along and occupy?
Mm-hmm.
Unless we're going to put a force together and occupy it.
Experience points.
Unless
Oh, that's always the reason. So you guys are talking amongst each other, and they just keep bringing out heavy chests.
I mean, seriously, with this much money, we could just put together our own force and occupy the forts.
Well, I ask, what
AKA carving out our own chunk of land.
Are there any friendly forces in the Frostwood?
No.
You're asking Lord Fell?
Yeah. Unbeknownst to my character, he doesn't know, what's in the Frostwood, really.
Yeah. He says, aside from the foresters that trade with Braycott, he says the only other forces that I am aware of, at least the long-standing ones, are the Moonreavers, as I said, halflings and Grugak that inhabit the deepest parts of the Frostwood. They generally repel anything and everything that is not themselves. He says they have let the people of Tenh live, on the edges of the forest in peace, if we do not take too much of the lumber from there.
And they've never held any of these forts?
The Moonreavers, he says?
Yeah.
No, never.
But otherwise dealings with them are neutral, hopefully at least?
They are unfriendly, but not hostile.
They obviously haven't met the right bard then.
So
enough for the whole class.
You see finally they drop the last chest with a note of finality, and you hear loud, each of these it takes 4 men to kind of waddle them in here.
That one's mine. I
They wheel, or not wheel in. They bring in 18 chests.
Damn.
Great, you take that one. I'll get the 3 behind it.
I become the Count of Monte Cristo.
And when is the boat going to be ready to sail?
Yeah.
We are just out of here.
Right.
I hear the
So-
Shieldlands are nice this time of year.
So yeah, you now have 350 build points,
Damn.
Wow.
which doesn't mean a
Like
lot unless you
costs-
read a little bit of the
It costs
kingdoms.
it costs 300 to build a road.
Right.
That's a lot of build points.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
I mean, that's straight building, castle kind of points.
Yep. 2 castles actually.
I mean, keep in mind, all that takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
Where's that literature at? Is that on the actual Roll20 site? Is that where you put it, or is it linked out to something else?
I shared it. I know
It's
I shared
a-
it long ago.
Folder. It's a folder I have shared with all of you, but here it is again.
I will make it a favorite.
Yeah. So as an example, if you wanted to turn like a hex that's typically forested area, and you want to prepare that to be something else, it's going to take you 2 months and 4 build points. I mean, you can look at Table 9 on page 25, and you get a sense of like how you take undeveloped land and turn it into developed land, right? To do something with it. You can also look at the buildings, which are further down. You kind of get a sense of what those cost. If you want to build a Bardic College, it's going to cost you 40 build points. If you want to build a cathedral, it's nearly 60. A castle is about 55.
Joe?
You've got a lot of build points.
That's what I'm saying. We could take the forts and then put in our own garrison.
You got to hire them. You got to bring those people in. You got to train them. There's a lot of things. Now, I'm not saying we're going to do that as part of gameplay. So, kind of stepping out of the game for a moment, the goal here is that between sessions, like I might say, okay, you've done a block of sessions or stuff going on. Who's taken what role? And 3 months have passed. What do you want to do in that 3 months? Do you want to fulfill one of those roles so that you can make the kingdom better? You're like, nope, I don't give a shit about that. I want to go do some training. I want to go work and make money. Whatever it is you want to do, you can do those things.
I want to build Mar-a-Lago Fantasy Edition.
So, okay. So yeah, there are 18 chests. Each one probably weighs, 200 or more pounds. Big, heavy.
See a really good time for a demi-plane spell, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Where's Aaron there when you need it, or when you need him?
Who needs Airner? Ragic, put those in the wagon.
Magic, you're gonna have to carry these wherever we go. We're just gonna strap them to you.
Yeah, Ragic. Yeah, Ragic. Yeah. It was like
Wander off to my own area then.
It was like Brad's troll in Earthdawn. Yeah, troll. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
All
right, guys,
We'll
let's-
have to start at like a different thread to discuss that side piece as in between sessions.
Yeah, you're gonna need to establish a home base, whether it's one of the forts, the Gleaming Spire, or a town, or especially if you want to like really develop something, you're going to need a settlement of some kind. I mean, that's really what you're going to need to focus on. A fort like what the Gleaming Spires represent. You can definitely garrison those once you have troops. and they'll provide you some additional benefits. But your goal really is to increase land, which then also increases your potential for earning money as part of taxes, and then of course you're going to have to send taxes up to the Duke. Once you establish yourself.
Please, like it's gonna take us long to get people. All we
Can't
have
we
to
just-
do is put out that Jarl, the hero of Redspan, is gathering men. They'll come flocking.
Yeah.
Can't we just go kill a dragon?
Yeah.
Too much talk.
Hey, you want to join a Monday night game, 3 sessions? There might be something like that.
The experience points apply in this game.
Yeah. That'd be awesome.
Might throw things off just a little bit. These are like level characters. So, okay. Let's take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back.
Okay.
Very good.
So who's back? So are you two back?
Who?
Yeah.
Both of you two.
Yep.
So
Okay.
what exactly is Harpester?
What exactly is what?
Harpester
Harpester?
that Tony's directing us towards.
Harpender.
Yeah,
I don't
okay,
know.
whatever.
I don't know. Just sounded like a good way to go to me. Also,
I see this,
well, and also,
I see this being a way of least effect.
yeah, it could be that too. Although, me personally, unbeknownst to my character, really, he has family in that neck of the woods, I think. So I would kind of like to go that way. As potential to introduce some of those characters. But yeah, if we don't go that way, that's fine too.
All right, we got everybody back.
Yeah, I think so.
Excuse me.
How'd the car tow go there, Flash?
Yeah, it went fine.
Did it die again?
Yeah.
Oh,
So Sunday. So
yeah, at least you told me.
after some work, having some work done on it, we finally thought we had it kind of in a spot where we could take it for an extended ride. 20 minutes, mind you, was the ride. We went
20
from-
minutes.
Yeah, we went from Carlisle to Cummings, to a barbecue over at Jin's house.
hmm
Which, by the way, she was in a bathing suit, and it was a pool party. So,
Nobody can see your thumbs up with me, dude.
yeah, well,
Yeah, I can.
2 thumbs up. Anyways, so we got there. Well, we were about a mile away, and Lisa's like, "You smell that?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's an old car. They all, kind of smell that way after a while." No, when we stopped at Jin's driveway, popped up the hood, and there's like a I don't know if it's a motor per se, but it's attached to the air conditioning compressor.
It's the air
Mhm.
compressor clutch.
Okay, well that thing was smoking. Smoking pretty hard, actually. And so, yeah, so then she's like, I'm going to call Donnie and Chris, and I believe they both were like, yeah, you probably shouldn't drive it back home. So yeah, we drove it for a full 20 minutes. It got up to, 65 miles an hour, and then it had to be towed home.
I mean, that's a
Did you just
bolt
cut
on.
the belt off and drive it home?
No.
The belt was also driving the water pump.
Oh.
Yeah, it drives
no.
multiple stuff.
But I mean, I'm trying to think of that part. I mean, Donnie, that's a bolt-on, isn't it? I mean that you
It
don't have
is.
to crack the engine for that, so
No,
that's not that huge of a deal.
Yeah, I don't think
other
it
than
is.
you have to evacuate the Freon, put it on,
Yeah,
purge the system, put in new Freon.
yeah.
It's a little bit of work to it.
Remember when that was such a big selling point on cars? Ice cold air conditioning,
Right. Yeah, well, it's never
Where-
worked, so
fully charged.
not what
But,
we
you
had
know,
it.
Flash, I did take my car out for about a 30-40 minute drive with no problems.
Nice. Yeah, I think Lisa's about her wits end with this car. Thing is, it's such a beautiful car, right? Even inside and outside, it's beautiful. But that
Yeah.
engine just well, the things
Yeah.
attached to the engine, mind you, were just.
Yeah.
Don't give up. That car
I
sat for
haven't.
a long
It
time.
did.
Don't
Three-
give up. Eventually, you replace all the parts,
Right.
and then you'll be good.
Yeah.
Flash probably knows this by now, but I know Donnie knows this. What are the 3 happiest days of a classic car owner's life?
Right.
The day you buy it,
the day you sell it.
and the day you get it running right.
Yeah.
The one day it runs
Which
right.
is immediately followed by the day you sell it.
You're right.
Finally! All right, get this thing out of here.
Yep.
Yep, that's why mine finally runs pretty good, and I've been driving it all summer.
Nice.
So you're getting rid of it now?
No.
All right. Okay, guys. So, you guys make any decisions on what you're going to do, where you're going to go?
First, we're going to go hide all this gold.
We're gonna bury it.
Am I getting the sense that like you guys have just been kind of like spoon-fed plotline for so long that you don't know what to do now?
No, we took a break. We went in all different directions.
I'm just giving you shit.
Okay, that's all right. You're in
And
time.
hell, technically you could take time if you wanted to. I mean, you guys could like take a couple weeks of rest before you decide to go anywhere. I mean, it's entirely up to you.
I think we
I
should
vote
maybe.
for a couple weeks of rest.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
vote,
I agree
I
with
vote
that.
for 4
1 month of
Month?
rest.
because
Yeah.
then I can finish my fucking training.
I will agree to it as long as it doesn't take the rest of the night for everybody to take their 4 weeks.
What are your training?
Torture.
Oh, yes.
Well, you definitely have access to somebody. How many weeks do you have left? Is it 4?
I need 4. 4 weeks. I've done half.
But there's no one to torture.
Also,
I'll
how
find
long would it take me to learn how to use thieves' tools?
Same thing as learning another skill. It would take you 10 weeks of practice and study
Yeah.
Okay.
with
I need
somebody who
4
knows it.
weeks.
You could start on 4 weeks of training. I mean, if that's what you wanted to do. If you want to convert a build point into cash so that you guys can spend it, it's 1 build point would give you back 500 gold?
It's 1,000, I believe.
I think right now it's 500 for you guys. Hang on.
Well, we still have the treasure from the Red Bull's tent.
Well, that's what I've included all together.
Oh, okay.
You know, I'm just giving it to you in build points. So,
Okay.
So what that really equates to in just straight up cash is about 175,000 gold. You guys are
Let's-
filthy, stinking rich.
We tell Duke, we're on it. Let's load it up and let's just head south, guys.
Get the hell out of Dodge.
Campaign's over. Let's just go set ourselves up in some far southern warm city.
I hear the
Until
Sea
the Duke
Princess
says
is a
speak
great
for us.
place.
Yeah.
Right. Last adventure. Let's just move you forward to like 18th level, and I'm going to send some assassins to kill you guys off.
Sweet.
Okay, yeah. So
Well, I'll be a badass.
aside from the money you already have, you've got 350 build points. You can convert a build point back to money for 500 gold. You want to spend 4 weeks? We'll just roll through it real quick here. If I understand correctly, you said. So first of all, everybody agree 4 weeks?
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay.
Fine with that.
All right. Since I already know what Sean wants to do, Iona, you now have proficiency with torturer's tools.
Actually, I was taking that in intimidation.
Oh, is that how you wanted it to be? Okay, intimidation.
Oh.
Okay.
So I
All
actually
right,
have a
fine,
skill
I-
in intimidation.
Those tools
Okay.
are intimidating.
Okay. That's gonna cost you a little bit. Give me a second here.
It's 100 gold, isn't it?
Yeah.
25 gold for a week, 4 weeks.
Is that what you recall?
I believe so.
250 gold later.
I got it.
Yeah.
I got it out of my own pocket.
Which is pretty crazy for you.
I'm gonna. Yeah.
That's because I don't spend it on anything.
That way we can kind
I
of.
don't have a house. I haven't lived anywhere. I haven't paid for lodging.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Roll percentile for me.
Oh my god.
You do it for you.
And 2.
Okay. All right. That'll work. Okay. You're good, and you now have intimidation as a skill. So that's that. 4 weeks with the master and your friend the torturer. Okay. Who wants to go next? How they're spending their weeks? Jal, how are you spending yours?
Well, 2 things. One, I wanted to continue my studies with Miles on how to use a war horn, and I need to work with my squires.
Okay.
I need to check and see how they did with Lord Fell and Captain Torwin, and then work with them on training.
They're dead.
Okay.
Well, that was easy. I'll just work on the war horn.
All right. How much? Okay, so Hobart, how much of your time are you willing to devote toward teaching them how to blow the war horn.
Well, I mean, like, are you trying to get skilled in it?
I want to be able to use one.
Okay. Well, I mean, how can I split this time up? Just into two-week periods?
If you want to. I mean, it would consume the same amount of time that he would spend on it. So if he says, I want to spend 2 weeks, and you're willing to spend 2 weeks, then he gets 2 weeks of training. And if you want to charge him for that and he's willing to pay, then that's up to you.
No.
Okay. Go find somebody else.
I can do that, Miles, or you maybe know somebody that can teach me.
I'm sure there's any number of people in the city that will teach you for free.
Yeah.
They're
I hooked
heroes.
up with
I'll do
somebody
that
from the
instead of-
Bard College.
I don't want to take up Miles' time
Yeah.
to do that because he's got much better things to pursue than teaching me to blow a horn.
Yeah. All right. Well, make a persuasion test, and I'll give you advantage because almost certainly while you're trying to find a
Pucker your
trainer,
lips and blow.
somebody is probably following you around
I
and
know.
making your footsteps louder and blowing crazy shit. So go ahead and make a persuasion test. See if you can get somebody to teach you for free.
Jesus Christ. Okay, where are we at? Persuasion.
Get your
Let's
two
see.
ladies to show you.
There we
how.
go.
Oh yeah.
That's a different horn I get to blow.
Yeah.
They do
Actually,
the blowing.
she'll be blowing the horn. Yeah. Yeah. You get a marriage proposition from the sister of the guy who says he'll teach it to you. He's not charging you. That's not the price of learning. But yeah, you absolutely get somebody that will spend as much time during that 4 weeks. So if you want it to be 4 weeks of training, then boom, 4 weeks of training.
Okay. First off is what do my squires need? Because I have a responsibility to them.
The best experience for them is going to be to learn on the road, honestly.
Do they have the best in gear? Because we could have collected that.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably outfit them in up to chain at this point if you want to.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, and then, all right, anything else?
Horses for them.
You'd have to pay for those.
Okay. Well, we got plenty of money.
Well, Miles might be able to commandeer you some horses. He seems to have channels through the local military, but it's just a thought.
Well, I'll hit him up on that. And otherwise, I'll work for 4 weeks on studying the war horn, and I still want to coordinate with the temple, Tony, to make sure that I do proper obeisance to Alator and thank him for granting us vengeance.
Okay, well, let's one thing at a time. So if you go to Miles, are you willing to attempt to commandeer some horses from the military?
Yeah, if I can. I mean, if I...
Make a persuasion test.
Yeah.
I'll stand behind him.
Okay, hang on. If you prefer to intimidate them, you can do that too.
Yeah.
I'm not going. I don't want to intimidate. I
No, I do, Mike. I'm
stand there with my
really
teeth
good at it.
gleaming. Oh, okay.
You will give him
You're
the
gonna
horse,
just bawl
mister.
at somebody until they get. You are, aren't you?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's,
You would
That's Captain
deny the
Corbin's
hero
horse.
Richmond.
You can't have the captain's horse.
Yeah.
The hell I can't.
The Lord Fell's horse to him. Now.
Yeah. So yeah, you approach Miles, and Miles is like, in the middle of whatever he's doing. He's like, yeah, I absolutely, I can get you some horses. And so you accompany him, and you expect him to wheedle it with somebody, and instead he finds somebody of the appropriate rank, and he just starts bawling at them, dressing them down, and telling them he needs 3 horses. And why didn't you get me those yesterday? And the guy freaks out, runs off, and comes back with 3 horses, or however many you needed. Was it just the 2 for your squires? Did
Just
you
the
have
2 for the squires.
Okay. So yeah,
I'll get the magical horse.
you commandeer two horses.
you're welcome.
Oh, there's ale in your future, my lad.
Okay. So there's that, and then you definitely you check in with the priests of Alatur at the small grove the shrine in Lord Fell's, the Castle Redspan. The only thing that the priest there says that is, anything other than complimentary of your great victory is simply that now that you've had your vengeance, he heartily recommends that you turn toward, following Alator's guidance in, rejuvenating Tenh.
Well, that would be vengeance for the entire country. I have personal vengeance.
Yeah. He just shakes his head. Yeah. But they accept your money all the same.
No problem.
Okay, so let's move on. Actually, I'm really interested in what does Rajic do for 4 weeks?
Oh, yeah.
Probably go back to the pits.
Yeah?
Now hold on, Z. Now I want to get on this.
Oh, you want to do some gambling? Is that your plan?
No,
You want to fight in the pit?
I want to do some fighting.
Can we go after hours and watch?
And who was it? A couple weeks ago, somebody, myself and someone else, split money and invested in something. Anybody remember what that was?
Yeah, it was you and Sean getting flashes, spells, and he's gonna sell them here in a bit.
Oh yeah.
All right. So the orc goes back. The orc goes back to the pit. All right, and then so we'll start with you. Actually, you know what? We can do it. I mean, is that your plan? Is to spend all 4 weeks fighting in the pit, both of you?
Sure.
Yeah.
Didn't make,
Oh my
I didn't make
God.
shit for money being a bard, so
Okay. All
Too
right.
much talking.
Okay. So both of you, I need to make. Let's see here.
I just cheat outrageously the entire time too.
You two end up having to fight each other.
Yeah, well, quite possibly.
So,
We'll see.
Come on, I want to see some PvP.
You're right. Okay. Well, if it comes down to it, then yeah, we'll yeah.
Oh boy.
Okay. Both of you got to make. Both of you need to make an athletics check. I'm assuming you'll be raging, Don. So
Of
you can make it.
course.
You can make it an advantage.
Oh, then I am too.
Well, you get advantage on yours anyway, right?
I can do enhance ability. I mean, I cheat outrageously, dude.
Oh, so you're.
Ability, vicious mockery, shield bash. I'm a dick.
There's no shields in pit fighting.
Yes, there is.
He's fighting in a different. Like you're doing bare knuckles. He's doing. Like
Oh, is that a
sparring.
weapon?
It sounds like that's what you're doing. It's
Yeah.
like more sparring. Okay. All right. So yeah, you guys are fighting in like you're doing two totally different things.
Okay.
Okay. So athletics.
Make sure we have the clam concession going here at the pit fight. Bearded clam. Here we go. Get your clams.
Okay. All right. And now I need both of you.
Get your
To make-
clams.
Okay. Now I need you to make an acrobatics test. The Dex acrobatics test. You do not get a. Okay, you got an 18. You have advantage. You can enhance your ability to do advantage on that too. Is that right?
No, only one at a time, so I figured I'd only have it on strength.
Okay. Didn't you already have advantage on that anyway? On athletics?
No, not without that spell.
Okay. For some reason, I thought you had something going that did that. Okay. All right. So 17 and 18. Okay. And
I'll be
then,
back in a minute.
okay. All right. So then what I need you to do, the last thing. Oh, okay. All right. So this is interesting. Roll your hit dice.
Like just a die 8.
No.
No, click on your hit
From the
dice.
character sheet, it includes the bonus. Okay. Now, make a Constitution check and add
Jesus.
that bonus. So Donnie, you're gonna add a con plus 10, and then so you got a 28, and you got a 19. Okay. Oh my God! All right. Okay. So, first things first, Rajic, you go back in, and you, over the course of the next 4 weeks, beat the living shit out of the Mad Dwarf, time and time again, and he retires. I mean, you beat him in week 1. You come back. He comes back the next week. You beat him down the second week. So 4 weeks running, you beat him down. You make, you know what? We're just going to average it out. You make 600 gold over that month.
Nice.
In pit fighting. Okay. You do the same, and you earn a nickname. They just call you the Crow.
I'm back.
Miles.
Okay.
And so they give you the nickname in the pits as the Crow, and you end up coming out that month undefeated, and you also make 600 gold.
Nice.
Wow. Yeah. I made like 25 last time for playing music and shit like that. Beat people up and get paid. Could probably lose and make better money.
I've made pretty good money at doing this.
Okay, so that's you two. All right, Joe, what do you do for a month?
Okay, I would like to spend 2 weeks working on my thieves' tools. Like, I'm gonna talk to Iona and ask if he would recommend. Well, I probably find that he is busy with his torturer's kit. And,
Oh, I'm really sorry to bother you.
Yeah. I ask him if he can point me in the direction of somebody from the Crows that would allow me.
Not Fergus.
Fergus. Yeah.
Not Fergus. Fergus is the brute.
Ferrero.
Yeah, Ferrero. Ferrero. He's the he's the tools man.
Yeah, so he puts you, he connects you with this little box guy. You'd think he was a dwarf, but he's just a really short human. He's kind of bald headed, and he makes up for it to the best of his ability by growing a thick beard.
He's a mule.
Right. He's very meticulous, very precise, and he's kind of a harsh taskmaster. But he starts you off on simple locks. And then he also teaches you a little bit about
I'm totally cool
using the tools to disarm traps on locks and other things.
Exactly.
So you spend 2 weeks on that, and you spend 50 gold.
Okay.
So just mark down. You have 2 weeks towards a total of 10. So you have 2 out of 10 weeks that you've spent in training that. What do you do with the other 2?
I'm going to approach the owner of the King's Crown.
Okay.
And before I do that, I would like to consult some of my. You said I have relationships with a lot of the nobles now. I've forged quite a bit of alliances.
Yeah, I think you did some carousing, and you've made a few contacts. I don't think we've come up with any names for them, but there's probably a half a dozen noble families, and that's where they go for some entertainment is the King's Crown, and I would say probably the scions of many of those noble houses.
Okay. I would like to. I'm first going to approach one of them, and actually, you know what? I'm going to hold off on that. Never mind. I want to go to the owner of the King's Crown and ask for a proposition that I would share in the profits with them. But I would also sign a contract saying that I would not tell any of the tales of the heroes of Redspan, now the heroes of Tenh, with any other establishment. And when a new tale emerges, it will be told in Redspan. It will be told first here. But I want a stake in the King's Crown.
He says, "Are you willing to put any money down?" He says, "I've got enhancements that could be made here, but
absolutely."
Okay. He says, "How much are you willing to invest?"
Let me see what I got here. I gotta. Yeah, I do have a deal.
One goal.
I don't want to use their. Yeah, yeah.
He slides the silver piece across the
Yeah.
table.
I tell them to hold on. I go up to my room, and I grab 100 gold pieces and I bring it down, and I say, "Here's my first investment."
He thinks on it, and he says, "We could do some significant expansion." He goes, "And I've been thinking about opening a brewery as well." He says, "If you wanted to fund half the cost of the brewery, which would be a little bit more than this, then," he says, "I would absolutely share in the profits with you." And he talks a little bit about it. Basically, what it would end up costing you would be 1,000 gold in total. But what you'd earn out of that is, probably roughly 50 gold a month.
Okay. How much to get the brewery going?
About 2,000 gold.
Oh my gosh! You said it was a little bit more than this.
No, it'd be 1,000 gold in total. Would be your share if you wanted to go with them on halvesies.
Okay. So I mean, I'm assuming that. I mean, how much?
You've got a ton of gold back there if you want to figure out how to.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, yeah, I would definitely do that. Man, that's not a lot, not a lot of profit for 1,000 gold, but yes, I would.
You'd get all your money back in less than 2 years.
Yeah, I agree to this, and I obviously would run it by the rest of the group in passing, and make sure that they know. And then I would like to have a contract drafted out in this week that I do it, and then I would like to have it notarized by Lord Captain Torwin himself with his seal.
Around this deal?
Yeah. I don't know if he'd be the one, but I just feel like it'd be ironic.
Okay, I mean, at this point, you got enough popularity, you could have that done.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And,
well, I do.
Do you have 1,000 gold to drop on this deal?
Well, that's what I was going to ask the group if I could take a small portion of our larger fortune. So I have 330 that I would definitely give up. So I would need 700 or 670.
Oh, and the other thing is, of course, even though you're going to only, I shouldn't say only, you'll be earning 50 gold a month, but at the same time, you'll also receive, you'll have free room and board whenever
Right.
you're in town. Best accommodations that the house has available at the time when you're in town.
Absolutely. I mean, that's one of the big things that I would like. That way I don't have to, I don't have to tell my tale every time, But yes, that's what I would like to do. I mean, I'm assuming that everybody would allow me to take a small portion out of the fortune that we've been given.
So let me get this straight. You want to borrow our money so you can make money.
How about I help
I will
fund
pay you
it?
back.
I help fund it. You can pay me back, and I get a beer named after me.
Oh, definitely.
The orc. It's the
richest
worst
orc you've
tasting
ever-
swill you've ever had.
Yeah.
We call this unfiltered brew Erlg.
Yeah. It tastes like urine. Smells like urine. It probably is.
How much do you need?
660.
I'll do that.
Jeez, he just made that.
Yeah, so you come in with bloody knuckles, you drop it on the table, sure.
Oh, I've got my list of loans. How much did I loan you, Flash? It was like 500, wasn't it?
I don't remember. Yeah,
Sean,
I don't remember.
you remember how much?
We bought in at 500 apiece.
Yeah, I think all three of us did.
Yep. So I have got a little over $1,100 out on loan to people. Eventually, the enforcer will come back out.
Come collect.
You don't want to. Other people come to Ragic to like, hey, I heard you loan money. You don't want to owe money to me.
Yeah. Give me my money. How about I just fireball you with these instead? I'll just,
which for some reason makes me think of John Wick. You don't want me owing you a favor.
Yeah.
All right.
That's pretty crazy when your reputation is so bad that you don't even want, like, people wouldn't even want you to owe them a favor.
Spit on the handshake.
Okay, the last thing, Tony. Is there like a theater in town?
No.
No theater at all.
No, I mean there's in Lord Fell's castle. He has a place where he'll do like audiences, but it's really just kind of like an open area and a balcony that he speaks from.
Okay.
That's about it.
Okay, so this is my last week. I would like to do this. I'd like to put on. Well, yeah, that might be. I would like to put on a play, and the events will be around the siege of. It'll begin with Rajik's stand with what's his face? Well, Jarek, is that was his name?
My brother.
Yes,
Oh,
and
right.
then that whole thing, and then it will end when Jal or when Iona slays
Oh
the
no,
bull.
Jal totally killed
But
him.
Jal, yes, so it will be Jal. So
So who participates in this? So you're aware that Croton was.
what do you mean by participated?
I mean, is this like a
Stop,
one-person play?
No, it's going to be. I'll probably hire. There's got to be other bards or troubadours, and they'll play the various parts.
You're aware that Croton actually is a graduate from the College of Alatur in Nevon Nevnen.
Yeah, he'll probably play himself.
And he says, "I'm not that kind of bard."
No.
Hey, I can
Okay.
do stage effects.
Are you doing?
Yeah, there you go.
Me and John can do stage effects.
And I would like to hold this because there's no amphitheater at the King's Crown.
Okay. And do you? Are you doing this as kind of like a free show for the people, or are you charging admittance, or what are you doing?
Nobody's getting. No, there's no admittance charge, but this is. It's going to be.
I will. This one
I would assume that I probably just. If you would allow this, that I probably prepare for the play throughout the week or whatever in the evenings. Seeing as the story's pretty fresh in my mind,
Yeah.
and then when we put it on, I would like to put it on for the week.
Okay. All right.
And then
I put out my hat that says free will donations.
and then whatever income I get from this, I will pay back Rajik as much as I can.
Okay.
We're going to call the play The Fall of the Red Bull.
Nah, make it about the hero, the roar of the lion.
Oh, there we go. Or we could just call it The Last Lion.
Okay. So you've got. Assuming you're getting the Iona to help you out a little bit, you're getting Rin to help you out a little bit. Okay,
Sure.
So here's how I'm going to handle it. Make a performance check with advantage.
There we go.
That's pretty good.
You cut a deal with the owner of the King's Crown, having already become an investor in the King's Crown, so that a cut of the profits would come back to you directly. And he says that sounds great. It's like 10% of the nightly take. Even so, you end up making 200 gold for the week in performances. Just that 1 week.
Okay. I'm going to I'm going to give 150 of it to Radric to pay off some of my debt, and then I'll keep the rest of it.
Okay.
Rajik, the debt
All right.
collector.
I think we covered everybody but Rin. So you're up.
All right. So, how long does it take to create a spell?
To create a spell.
Yeah.
And I don't know that it really covers that, does it?
Or maybe just falls under spell research. I don't know.
I would say that's really lore. Probably the same as it would take to craft a scroll, I would guess. So, like, what level spell is it?
Third.
A third level spell.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it would take you a week,
Okay. That's 1 week. Uh,
and probably, I hate to say it,
How much?
probably the research. I mean, it says here it would cost 500 gold
okay.
to create a scroll.
All right.
So I'm
Well.
going to guess it'd be the same thing to research a new spell.
Okay, then I guess I spend week 1 trying to sell the fireball scrolls to pay for my research.
How many?
We have 2.
2.
Yeah, 2 fireball scrolls. And if I have to, I get whoever wants.
Alone again.
No. Can I have a loan to sell these? No. Maybe get the bard to barter on our behalf, or I don't know, whatever. If I can get them sold, that's all.
So how many fireball scrolls did you have?
2.
Okay, you find a buyer. It ends up being Iona's master, and he actually sends you to buy it from him, Rin. And he drops 1,000 for both of them.
That is less than what it costs us to make them, right?
It costs 500 to make them.
Oh,
we
it-
split up. But we split that,
Yeah.
so it was 1,000 total, and we split it up 3 ways. Is that right? We spent
Right,
about like
right.
3.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, that's
33.
right. That's right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, 2 of those would have cost that much. So hang on a second.
So 2,000.
Yeah, the whole point of us doing this was to make money.
Yeah, you're right.
Not
Hang on.
lose it.
Hold on. $5,000.
Whoa!
Okay.
Shit, yeah.
It's 1666 each.
Okay. Yeah, so I will mark those off and add some money.
It takes you a week though to sell that.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm totally fine with that. So then I spend the second week researching, so I'll knock off 500 out of that.
And now you've got Rin's watchful ally or whatever.
Yep.
Okay. All right. And what do you do for the other 2 weeks?
I will research this coin. See if I can't figure out what it is.
Oh, I also need to attune.
Okay. Unless you have an identification spell, then make an Arcana roll.
I don't think I have identification. Let me double check.
We were splitting that $5,000 back the 3 ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1666.
Nice. I will mark your loan paid.
Yes. Yeah, that was the whole point. Is an investment.
Yep.
Okay, so what do you say? Arcana?
Yeah. Yep.
21.
Hey.
And just because I got the luck that day. Okay. We'll take 21.
Okay. A moment. So what you're able to determine is that the type of magic on it is like an evocation, and it looks like it's something you can do, and you're fairly certain it recharges on like a daily basis, like at dawn or whatever. And the shape of it, as you do this research, or not the shape, but the face in there, it's clearly a religious symbol. It was like a coin minted in the visage of the heraldry of Ayuz. The once you spend a little time with it, you realize that it's effectively doing the same thing that Iona's little stone is that he uses to communicate with his master.
Oh shit.
Which he's never told you about, but just because you are curious, not because you're a spy, you used Gwillem to figure out what the hell he was doing.
Huh. But we only have the one end of this walkie-talkie, so to speak.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah,
He goes straight to Ayu's.
Yeah, exactly. I can't say that I'm really interested in carrying it on me.
You send a message, all you get back is heavy breathing.
Yeah. I send a message of a big middle finger. Okay, well I put that somewhere. I don't know. It's not on any of our persons for the time being. That way it's. Okay. Okay.
So that took you not even really a week, really,
Okay.
because you've got at least a week left to do something else. If you
Okay.
wanted
Is
to.
anything? So has anybody come back to the tower, bell tower yet?
Yeah, both Janina and Nystel. They come back, in less than a week.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I take this coin to them.
As soon as you show it to Janina, she says, "Where'd you get this?" And then you tell her where, and she's like, "Let's take this to Nystel."
Yeah.
So the two of you go traipsing up to his office. He's poring over, some writing that you. Well, what languages do you speak? Oh, yeah, he's got a book of Urflan runes in front of him. But as you guys, come up the steps, he slowly closes it. You capture. You're like, wow, you don't see too many. You don't see really this in writing very much. In fact, the only reason that you understand Urflan runes is because you spent time with Nystel. Almost nobody teaches this stuff.
Okay.
But he slowly closes it, and you two come up, and Janina says, Master, Rin says he found this among Shargat's command tent and belongings during the raid, and she places it on his desk. He picks it up, looks at it briefly, and he says, Rin, you should leave this with me.
I'm totally cool with that, I say. I don't want to be anywhere near it, I say. If it is what I think it is, I say.
He says that and more.
Okay.
He says, we should find a way to... He thinks on it a moment. He goes, maybe not destroy it. He says, I need to consult with some others.
Okay.
It's in the right hands.
Exactly. Out of my hands and ours. To be spied upon is my main goal to not happen.
Quick shout out! We got somebody watching us, Oreo side, I think. Hey, thanks for joining. So. And evidently, Joe's familiar also would like to say thanks for joining.
Yes, he would.
All right. So yeah, Nystel, he takes a look at it, but so far he hasn't actually picked it up. And he reaches into his sleeve of his robe, and he pulls out a little handkerchief, and he just puts it on top of the coin, and then he picks it up with that,
right,
and puts it in the pocket.
Right. Yeah, I didn't touch it.
He sees you looking at him, and he goes, "You should probably wash your hands."
Yeah, immediately. I also plunger my face just to make sure I get it all.
All right.
All
right. So. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think anything else?
No, I think that's pretty much it for me. I spend the rest of my time working with Gwillem on the new spell and make sure it works and whatever, So I think that's it for me.
Oh, great, boss. He says now you can just hijack me at a moment's notice.
That's right.
That's wonderful.
Yep.
I mean, sometimes I leave range so that I can have a little privacy, but not anymore, right? I'm gonna have to
Right.
go even further away.
That's right. Quit your whining. I brought you into existence.
Okay, so yeah, a month has passed, and Jal, you're training with your squires. I'm trying to remember their names. In fact, here in a second.
Bernard and Conla.
Yeah, you're training with Bernard and Conla. Conla, you have to give him props. He's quite tenacious. Like you'll pair the two against each other, and Bernard is just so hefty compared to the boy that you'll train him in like a shield push. Conla just goes down every time, but he gets right back up again, and charges Bernard, who just kind of like smacks him off to the side. It's almost comical to watch, but the kid just is relentless. He will not give up.
Let me make a pointer to him. Use your superior dexterity. Use his size against him. Take his leg out from under him when he comes after you.
So you're training him in this way when you see Captain Torwin comes out to the training yard, and as you release the boys to work some more, he steps up and he says, "So, Sir Jal," he says, "we have these chests piled up on 3 wagons." He says, "What are we going to do with these things?"
Let me give you my bank account number and
routing number.
and routing number. Yeah, just make a small deposit.
Right. Please, put them in these 3 offshore accounts,
Yeah.
Caymans, and right. Yeah. No, you catch because you have insight, don't you? You catch the intimation that
I believe
Lord Fell wants to see you on your way.
Very good. Yes, I do have insight. Very good. All right, let me consult with my companions, and I will let you know forthwith.
We do happen to have a really good safe in the house.
Yeah, you do.
Absolutely.
And,
Yeah, we do.
And I do happen to know 3 people who will guard it while we're gone.
Oh, that reminds me. This same day, your stone buzzes. You're off doing. Actually, you're spending time with the torturer, and the stone buzzes.
Man, these guys
Oh,
are still
gotta go.
working over here.
He says,
guys-
"You know
guys
what?" He
doing
says, "You're doing all the work
the
now
roof
anyway."
over
He
here
says,
is still
"You're fine. You don't need to come see me anymore."
They have
And,
people
Excellent.
on their crew.
So you
Yeah.
get a note from
Yeah.
the master. He says, "Come see me in my chambers forthwith for
All
first
right.
taste."
And I'm upstairs.
So you go to visit him, and he says, as you come in, he says, "Iona, you've been a faithful servant for well over a year or longer." He says, "and you and the crows have done fantastic work for me." He says, "I need the crows." He says, "But you're no use to me anymore." He says, "You've grown beyond us.
You're useless.
Leave the stone."
You've been fired.
Yeah, bummer.
But what if I have information for you?
He says, "Don't worry." He says, we'll of course be in touch." He says, "But I have need of that." He says, "Actually, Cordelia has need of that."
Oh,
Man.
promoted.
I've been ousted for my subordinate to be promoted to my position.
That's correct.
Welcome to corporate 10.
There you go. That's good. That was awesome.
Mike, I'm going to give you a card for
I
that
agree. I agree.
Oh, I'll take it.
That
I'll
was
take
awesome.
it. That's just the real world, baby. Thank you.
one. Yeah. So he actually snickers a bit when he says it, like, because he knows it's going to burn and sting, and he just is like, that's all right. How do you react to that?
I'm hurt. I would
Are
be.
ya?
This is. I've lived my life since we've left the orphanage for this guy. I mean, he's been the flag that I follow, and suddenly I've been fired.
He sees the look on your face and he says, he goes, Iona, he says, that might be a bit of a problem for you. He says, you've always done what needed to be done based on what I told you. He goes, but sometimes you need to be able to make that decision for yourself. He says, and be able to live with that. He says, at this point, your path lies with them. He says, but Cordelia has what I need.
She's giving him what he needs.
Okay, that didn't come out exactly the way I intended it to.
As I'm putting the stone down, I kind of say I've always been able to live with what I've done because I've done it for the right reason.
He says, now you'll just need to decide what the right thing is, maybe for yourself. You see Cordelia knocks and comes in, and she goes, "Hello, master." And then she looks over and she goes, "Oh, Iona." She sees the stone on the table, and you see she blushes a little bit.
I can only think of that Key and Peele episode where he's like, "Bitch." I said, bitch.
You said that. You said that.
I pick the stone up and toss it to her and look at the boss and go, "Oh, by the way, she's got the clap." And I walk out.
Touche.
Okay. So yeah, you've been cut loose.
See, now you can start your own spy network, and can be the master.
So where do you go after that?
Apparently, I have work to perform in a play, so
So you're
I
over
went
there.
from master of assassins and killers to special effects.
Stagehand.
That's right, stagehand.
So you're playing your role as the key grip when you see a shadow. Cordelia has caught up with you, and while you're trying to focus on the play, she comes up and she goes, I hope there's no hard feelings. She says, the master asked me to stay. Honestly, Ferrero and Fergus and I talked about leaving and going with you, but I mean, nobody knows any place other than Redspan since we left Nev on Nevnend. She goes, but anytime you come back, she goes, where your
Don't forget
people.
your hat this time.
The crows are always with you.
I was afraid I'd actually outplayed my hand. I played too close to the sun, and it's hard to hide in the shadows in the sunlight.
Wait, try calling her.
You've flown too high, Icarus.
She says you have been kind of high profile. Even trying to deflect a Jal.
Oh,
She goes, but I mean, it served you well so far. She goes, there will always be a place for you back here in Redspan. She goes, and if you come back, she says, I'll step aside.
They're your crew now. I will need you to keep an eye on the house, though.
She just nods. Absolutely. She goes, and I hope you don't mind if we use it as a base.
If you're using it as a base, I know somebody's looking after it.
Okay. She nods and heads out without another word.
I was actually thinking that I had become way too popularly famous to play the spy type.
We're all right in Jaw's book.
But that way we have people looking over the house while we're gone.
Mm-hmm. Good call.
Miles, you wrap up a solid month in the fighting pits, doing what you do, and as you kind of announced that you're done fighting. In fact, you're planning to leave Redspan. A small group of young men, some of which you remember actually fighting, although rather briefly in the pits, approach you, and they start asking you tons of questions. One of them's like, are you really a bard? Did you really study at the College of Alatar? We've never seen anything like somebody like you that was a bard. You aren't, are you? You're like a warrior. I mean, you could be with the Dogs of War.
Hold on just a second. Who are the Dogs of War? I'm sure I know.
They're a local mercenary outfit that's based in Redspan.
Slightly more organized than a good street gang.
Slightly better disposition too.
Yeah, really.
Oh no, indeed, I am a bard. Studied at the college.
And so, as you're trying to get out of there, this gaggle of like a half a dozen kids are, following you. I mean, I'll call them kids, young men, and they're all like firing question after question. Does Nevon Nevenens stand? I mean, when were you last there? And you try to, tell them, were you with the Tenha host? Tell us about the Battle Crows, and you end up with. Three of the kids, three of them kind of wander off, but three of them basically say, if you'd have us, we want to squire with you.
Oh, really? Oh, that's serious. Oh. So I know we're going to this new area, this new outpost, and we don't have people, right?
I mean, it's just you guys.
And we're supposed to build something, right?
Yeah, Jal has 2 squires.
All right. I don't know. Nobody's my squire. I don't need squires. I'll take you. I'll train you to be soldiers. And we need men. We need fighters. So if you're willing to learn, I'll teach you.
Yeah, the three that stay with you. I mean, they fought in the pits. With weaponry that they had. Blunted swords. None of the 3 of them have great equipment. Like leather and short swords primarily. And you didn't see if they had anything ranged.
We'll make sure before we leave to get some decent equipment for that, and not just for these 3, but any other, like 20 suits of chain and, an armory basically in a wagon, I think, right? Anybody else? Yeah, no.
I think it's a good idea.
Eventually we'll get a smithy up and all that.
You've got 3 wagons loaded to the gills with treasure that are currently parked outside of your manor. In the inside the little gated area in the front entry.
This is the money in the chest, though, right? The money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
It's not stuff. We'd have to. I mean, you're saying. I don't know. What are you saying?
It's money.
Yeah, we know.
Get it inside.
Get it in, lock it up.
Yeah.
All right.
Keep the wagons.
Yeah, we
Frankly, you've probably had the chests, for a while. Maybe a week or 2, down in your vault.
Yeah.
Off time, I swim in it.
Okay, Scrooge McDuck. All right. So you want to outfit these kids and then keep them with you as retainers?
Well, yeah, but more than just these guys, or at least equipment for more than just these guys. There's no Walmart out here, right?
Most of the
but there's Fantasy Costco.
Yeah.
Most of the arms and equipment had largely been commandeered by Lord Fell's forces, and in fact, he also conscripted all of the smiths at one point too. What Jal had to do at the time didn't you buy a set of splint?
Yes.
Is that what you're wearing now?
No, I'm wearing the dragon plate.
Oh, right. Yeah, so you know that splint I think you gave to Bernard, but you were only able to get that after negotiating with the Dogs of War.
Mm-hmm.
You might be able to commandeer some better equipment from the Tenha host. You still got a little bit of clout there.
Yeah, I do. So nothing. I don't try to go crazy. Like I guess chain shirts, sword shield, and crossbows. Like light crossbows.
All right, make a persuasion test. Or an intimidation. Do you pull that thing again? Maybe I should pick somebody else. All right, you do the same thing, out of sight of any of the rest of the heroes of 10. And, ball at a guy until he gives you, three chain shirts, 3 long swords, 3 shields, and 3 crossbows, and quarrels for all of them.
Yeah, and I don't just hand these out. I'll do that once we're out of town.
Okay. All right. So here's the deal. Like, you can pay for their equipment up front, or you can just assume it's going to cost you 10 gold a month to maintain these three guys.
Okay.
I'll write them up, and you can have them as a just an easy token that you can pull out and use.
Okay. I'll do the 10 a month, I guess. Yeah. Remind me. Sure, I'll be diligent about writing that down.
It's 10 a month apiece, so you're looking at
Oh.
30 gold of expense each month to carry these guys.
Okay.
And really,
Feed them and
yeah, it's not that
feed
bad.
them and house them and armor them.
It's really the same thing for your squires, Palmer. You're looking at about 10 a month apiece, so 20 for you.
Very good.
Anyway, okay. So yeah, I mean, you're at the end of your month. What are you guys doing? Where are you going?
We're headed out with the contingent to Brycott.
Okay. All right.
So are we literally like taking off cross country with 3 big wagon loads of gold?
That was what I was going to ask.
No,
In the vault.
it's in the vault.
All of
Okay.
it's in the vault.
Well, how many points do you want to take with you?
I mean, it takes a lot to get anything going.
Yeah.
So we probably need to take like 100 points to get going.
Yeah, you're looking at most of a cart.
So
most of
one wagon.
Okay. One wagon loaded to the gills with gold. All
We're
right.
gonna have to keep this thing. We can't like ever leave it.
Right, and we have tools and weapons, whatever weapons we get a hold of. Like, just those things you need to start and probably try to hire some people, some craftsmen. Because I don't know how to build a fucking house.
You're going to try to hire people here. Generally, you're going to hire from whatever the local populace is, wherever you start
then
to
we'll
do
do that.
anything. And I'm not gonna make you spend time doing that shit. That's gonna be like between sessions. We'll talk about it, and this shit will just happen. I'm not gonna make you negotiate with the local populace and all that crap.
Make sure I do attune before we leave.
Thank you. Forgot about that. So
I hadn't.
you attune to it, and you gain those immediate effects. One of the things, and I mean, I don't know that I would go so far as to call it a flaw, Donnie, is that if you hear anything that even remotely sounds like a lead toward the 5 Blades of Korusk, which you don't necessarily gain any additional insight into anything about them other than a strong desire to pursue them. To the point that you might go looking for them. You might ask questions about what the hell they are. Because it's like this nagging need that's just in the back of your mind all the time now, ever since you've attuned to the axe.
I am the tune.
Okay, the next thing. When after you've attuned, the next time that you encountered Cormac, like you went to just He spent time betting on your pit fight again, and as you took your gear, which you pretty much carry with you all the time, and Cormac approached, you felt this pull when you got to within about 10 feet of Cormac. You just felt this strong pull and a sense that a blade was present. And then, you were like, what is that? Because I don't think you guys really talked much about it. You gained this overwhelming desire to just run your finger down the blade of your axe, and to do the same with the edge of the sword he was carrying. So do you do that? Do you follow up on that?
I don't know. Would I have the willpower to hold it? I do it.
You do it? Okay.
I do it. Why not?
All right.
Now he's cursed.
So when you do, there's like a tuning fork kind of sound where both the sword and your axe like they make a noise, and then they sort of come into harmony, making the same tone, and then the sound goes away.
Cool.
What happens after that is, hang on a second. You gain knowledge on a new ability.
Where's Palmer's sword? Let me see that.
In my scabbard. Go away. Go away.
Now you feel like this chill within your lungs, and you know that if you concentrate on it, you can exhale, and like fog will roll out, like a cold fog.
That's cool.
Wintry, sweet. Fog cloud is an action.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Hey, Joel, let me see your sword.
I mean, that one's been talked about a lot, right? So you're pretty sure you know that one is one of the blades of Koresk. So
I want to try something. Can I see your sword? I'll let you hold it. See this sharp, pointy end.
What? Are you talking to me?
Yeah, I want to see your sword.
Okay. All right.
I lick my fingers. Slice.
All right, you cut into your flesh against both weapons, and the same thing happens to y'all. You're rather startled to hear like a high-pitched, almost like a keening sort of emanate from Zotat, and like a deeper kind of almost like a groan sort of emanates from his ice axe. But then over the course of a few seconds, as blood kind of drips down the edge of both weapons from his thumb, the tone sort of approach each other until they match, and then they both fade away.
And then your thumb hurts.
And your thumb hurts. You took a point of damage.
And now take damage, dumbass.
But now you also know that the storm is only a thought away. Rajic, you can call it when needed. We can't hear you, Flash. I think you got your thing up.
The wizard's crying over here. You're making me useless.
Cast Ice Storm. Sweet.
The good news is help is on the way.
Secretary of Agriculture Sonny Perdue just announcing moments ago that Trump
Joe.
He's not know how to mute.
Good grief.
All right, so that's that. Okay.
Wait,
So you-
wait. Who is our Secretary of Agriculture in Red's band?
Whatever. All right, so you guys take one wagon, gear for all of you, plus your retainers, which at this point I think are just 5, three that Miles has, and two squires for Jal. By the way, Jal, you get plenty of more offers. Do you want more squires?
No, because it's going to cost me. Not at this point. I imagine that will hold true no matter what happens.
How many can he have?
Well, the more you have, the more time it's going to consume of his. Not to mention, like, if you guys establish a settlement, he's gonna be, assuming that, considering his popularity, assuming you make Jal the Lord, he's going to be really busy doing shit.
I'll probably take over the training of soldiers.
That's what I was thinking. And Mike could be the one to merit the enlistments.
How
So
many
if we
can he
want to
get?
start recruiting people, then let's start. I mean, we're going to need guards for this new outpost, so taking some guys with us wouldn't be bad.
Right. How many can he get?
Tony, how many guys can we get?
Oh shoot! Your popularity is super high.
Yeah,
I mean,
know.
how many do you want? 100?
Oh, that's a bit much.
Do you want to hire the dogs of war to go with you?
No, I don't trust them.
So I try to find a solid sergeant. If we're getting a bunch of raw recruits, I can't do everything. So I try to get somebody that's retired or wants to go out of town or whatever. And then let's call it 20 dudes. How's that sound?
So we need 15 more.
Yeah.
Well, make a persuasion test and see if you can you can get a retiree to come out of retirement.
Okay, I'll use I'll enhance that.
Okay, I was gonna say intimidation's not gonna work.
Did anybody try to recruit the Mad Dwarf?
I don't think he's the kind of guy we're looking for.
It's like, yeah, I make too
I
much
feel
money
like he's
in here.
just.
Okay, yeah, you
Good one, Mike.
you get a veteran soldier that's willing to take a bunch of recruits with you guys to break on, absolutely, and beyond potentially.
I go through and question them, not necessarily like I show up like a recruit and start asking them questions wherever we have this recruiting session, and I go through and kind of give my opinion on the best 15, but I go through and pick out the ones that are actually dedicated, the ones that aren't here for some nefarious reason.
Okay, well, first roll deception.
This guy's so a spy.
Would that be a good place to use insight?
Oh, that'll be his next roll.
That'll be it.
Okay.
Yeah, I got that one too.
Okay, and make an insight roll.
All right, 18's not bad, and insight 17's not bad. I'm good with both those.
Yeah, you get several applicants, and you pull out 15 of the best that you, and not necessarily focused. You don't have really time to determine their fighting prowess or any of that, but just people who have their head in the right place and their heart in the right place. Yeah.
That's important.
That's what I'm looking for.
Okay.
The
We can
rest you
train-
can give them.
Yeah, the rest we can train them. That
Amen.
first part you got to have.
At this point, you really don't have like an establishment around any of this. You're going to pay 10 gold per person per month, and the sergeant's 30.
And that
So
gears them up and
230.
everything.
No, we probably have to gear him up first.
No, these guys have minimal gear unless you want to outfit them better.
No, we'll just
We'll
gonna
start
be-
with that.
gonna be
we'll
le-
move around the good stuff
Yeah.
for guard duty.
Yeah, these guys are going to be leather and short swords and short bows.
Okay, that's good enough for now.
230. I got it.
A month.
I'll take the first month at 230.
All right. Well, then we'll work it into the budget. Okay. What's next?
I got a question for you, Tony. Is it possible for me to change some of my spells around?
It's a good question.
So, okay, by the rules, how it works with most casters is each level they can change out one spell for another spell.
So I would allow you, when you went to 5th level, if it's a spell you have not used, you could drop it and pick up one other that you think would be more useful.
Okay.
And then you
And
can do it
mind, just so
again.
you know, it doesn't have to be level appropriate. So, like when you hit a high level and you get access to 5th level spells, you can drop a 1st level spell and pick another 5th level spell.
Okay.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be. Yeah, it doesn't have to be like if you drop the 1st, it has to be only a 1st. It doesn't work that way at all.
No.
Okay.
You're saying that if we haven't used it at all?
I'm saying that I'll let you retcon level 5. If you believe you have not used that spell the entire time you've been 5th level, you could swap it out for another spell on your list that you think would be more useful.
I can wait for 6th on this one. I wanted to take the Find Steed.
It's a great spell.
Okay. All right, so
I'll use my cart for the time being.
do you have everything you need for your trip to Braycott?
I will get myself a good horse.
Okay. Are you gonna try to?
Yeah, actually, now I'm thinking about it. I don't have a horse either, honestly.
I'll buy it. I'll pay for it. I'm not gonna.
You're
Go
not
to
gonna
well
try to
too much on
intimidate
that.
somebody else.
I need a horsey.
Need a Clydesdale.
Yeah, I want a big horse.
It's called an elephant.
You would need a draft horse at the minimum for sure.
Okay.
Well, he can afford it.
Go ahead and pay for it if you like.
How much?
Does somebody have the book handy? I know that.
I'll get it.
I'm not walking.
For once, I do not.
You actually move almost as fast as a horse anyway.
True. But it would look awesome.
That's what Conan would do. He ran across
Look
country.
what That's right.
Until he got a horse.
It's just
Can I
like
name it Silver
it's just
Feet?
like every time you go off mute, dude, he just knows. He's like, motherfucker!
Yeah, I think he does.
Yep.
I want to talk.
Motherfucker!
Well, Felicia finally cut the whole part of the pacifier off, and so he is struggling
Being grumpy
with. Yeah, he's been a grumpy. Yesterday, when I got home, it was an hour and a half of him throwing a tantrum.
Oh my God.
Finally, she just took him on a walk for 2 hours and then came back, and he was tired enough to lay down. There you.
Just put them in a room and close the door and go back when they stop crying.
So, Donnie, a war horse is 400. A draft horse is 50. But a war horse is a battle horse.
What's a regular horse?
Regular horse, a riding horse is 75.
Oh man, that's expensive.
All right. I get my writing.
I would
Alright.
assume I feel like I wouldn't ride anything. Would I just hang out on Joel's cart?
You're welcome to drive it.
Oh, see, I don't think Etta could do that. I don't think she would want.
That's beneath
I'll take
her.
the war horse.
Yeah,
With
she needs somewhere to lay down on this long journey.
Okay, well, you guys started off in Redspan, and it takes you about a day to get like 15 miles with all the carts and stuff you have. And so there's you guys. There's 16 men. Now, those 16 men are in addition to your 3 guys that are following you. Is that
A
right?
total of
Yeah.
20.
Okay.
There's 20 guys,
Plus
including
2.
his
Okay.
2,
Right.
my 3.
So, and they don't all have horses, right? Unless you've
No, hell no, I don't buy
right.
horses. Jesus Christ.
right.
We're going into wagon space anyway, so they can,
Right. So you got all of them.
I
So,
can't ride a horse.
You have an additional half dozen men from Lord Fell. So I mean, there's a big group of you. You guys travel a full day on the road, which is still in decent repair. I mean, it probably hasn't been maintained for a solid 6 months or longer, and it's been through a winter, and there's lots of weeds poking up through the road. It hasn't seen a lot of traffic either, so you don't even see a lot of cart tracks. But you pass that entire day unmolested, and you go to set watch. Do any of you participate in the watch?
I will.
Okay.
And I probably can't ride a horse, can I, because of the frosty aura?
No, you can ride the horse. You're gonna have to make an animal handling check though.
Because frost will form on the horse.
It is a war horse, so it is a trained horse.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just buy a blanket.
Yeah, and I mean you generally have blankets you can put
Yeah.
on it and that kind of stuff. I mean the horse doesn't necessarily like you sitting on top of him, but you just wouldn't be able. It wouldn't be able to rest near you. I mean, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, you guys do notice that Rajic now seems to it always seems to be like 20 degrees colder when you stand next to him. It's kind of
We
weird.
need a desert campaign.
Yeah.
Right.
You do great in dark sun.
So
Yeah, buddy.
Rajic, you're the only PC that participates in the night watch.
Okay.
No, I do too.
Oh, okay. Okay.
No,
So Miles does.
I don't, but Gwillem does.
I don't, but my squires do.
That's right.
Okay. All right. So normally, what do you split it up 3 ways? So Rajic, you take one, Miles takes one, and then Gwillem takes one, probably with the men. alternating as well?
These guys are taking guard too.
Right, right.
Yeah,
You got five dudes with bows out patrolling
Right.
around the camp at any given time, probably.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. Oops, hang on a second.
Miles doesn't trust these fuckers yet.
It's like
Okay.
Gwillem's got
And-
night eyes.
Yeah, and you guys are chatting between each other, like how to manage the men during the night. But Rajic, you're taking first watch. Where do you do your watch? I mean, there's a big campfire. There are at this point there's actually 2 wagons. There's your wagon and then the half a dozen men that are with Lord Fell's or from Lord Fell also have a wagon that they
Actually, Donnie could see in the dark.
absolutely.
He should be taking a watch in the dark.
You want him to take the dead of night?
Yeah,
Mid
I will
watch
take,
for Donnie.
Yeah.
I will take the first watch because I can't see in the dark.
I think my axe also glows like 10 feet around.
Hey, we've got this
Only in
sword.
cold weather. Only in
Holding cold.
what, the one that glows around humanoids?
Yeah.
Okay, so once again, it sounds like things have changed. Who's taking first watch?
I will.
Second watch is Donnie then, in the dead of night. Sure. Third watch is who? Miles.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
And Gwillem on all of them. There's no reason he can't be. He doesn't have to sleep, so
Oh, okay, sure.
he's up
right.
all night anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
He should also be on all of them. So
Okay, I'm gonna need Gwillem to make a perception test.
okay. Gwillem,
Okay.
Perception.
Okay, all right.
Nighttime.
Iona.
He gets advantage.
23.
Well, yeah, I know. I'm not making you roll. Iona, the guards are right at the edge of the camp fire, maybe just a bit beyond it, and they're kind of patrolling in. Well, they were told by their sergeant to patrol in an irregular fashion, but he's actually he's sleeping to watch. You're looking at them and you're like, oh god, they're way too predictable.
I keep
where
using
do you-
this.
Okay.
Nice.
So as long as I'm not moving, I pretty much just fucking disappear.
Oh, by the way, we make sure they know not to shoot the owl. Do not shoot that owl.
Ooh, the motion ends. Attack rolls against you have disadvantage. Oh wow. Okay. Where do you set up your watch?
On top of the
Uh,
gold.
Pretty much.
You're like in the cart. You're like in the wagon. Like
I
hell
can
with
just
this.
sit on it and just put this around me, and I can just watch
Yeah,
without moving.
totally.
Out beyond the edge of the firelight. I mean, you can't even see it because it's a covered wagon. Out beyond the edge of the firelight, you hear a couple things. One, the night sounds stop. And at one point, you think you heard a branch crack, but it was very muffled. Some of the men that are awake are chatting as they're passing by in very low, hushed tones, and you're able to hear all that beyond it. And
where the branch broke.
Yeah, those two things combined make you feel as though there's something out there.
I cast light on the arrow and shoot it at that direction. Shoot it where I think it belonged, where it landed. Wherever the branch broke.
Okay,
If there's a tree there or whatever, I cast light and fire the arrow. It takes 2 rounds.
Yeah, it'll end up disrupting your chameleon, I think.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's a cantrip, though. I can cast it every as soon as I'm done.
Okay, so you cast light on an arrow, and then step out of the tent, or not the tent, but the covering, and fire it where you think that's coming from. Your arrow streaks out into kind of this copse of trees with a lot of brush, and probably about maybe 100 feet, right at the edge of this light that illuminates the area. You spot a figure. With your light shining on their face. You see it. The person looks surprised. You think they're human, and immediately the person ducks into the brush. But this is about 100 feet away.
Oh shit!
And I'm sure all the men notice that I've done this.
Oh yeah, they're all like, "What in the?" Nobody really trained them on what to do in this case, but you see three of the men. They have their bows out. One of them immediately shouts, "What was that? Do we have intruders?" One of them runs over to rouse the sergeant at arms. He's like, "What do we do, sir? We think we have an intruder." And then one of the other ones that was fairly near you, he's like, "What did you see, sir?"
There's somebody in that crop of trees.
So now at this point, all of their bows are drawn and arrows are aimed in that direction.
No, you idiots! Don't all go to one side.
So the sergeant at arms wakes and he starts bawling orders at the rest of the recruits to get up. This wakes all of you, so you're all awake at this point.
Quillum, what's out there, buddy?
At this point, he notices.
I see blackberries,
Yeah.
sir.
Oh, really good.
No, actually, he tells you about between 100 and 150 feet. There are 4 humans, I think, flitting from bush to tree to bush, trying to get out of here.
I relay that Gwillem says they're running away. That's what he said.
Well, he says they're not so much running as covering their retreat.
We'll follow them.
He says that they have short bows.
Stay high and follow. I mean,
Okay.
he can see for days, so.
Somebody point me in the direction. I'm going after them.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let them think they, that we're not following.
Okay. Make a stealth check for him.
For
And
Gwillem.
then we'll go murder them.
Yeah, he has advantage. He's way up high.
Oh, yeah, that's not even a... Hold on, I gotta go into his character sheet. Character sheet.
I
Oh, he
think.
gets his stealth. He does get stealth +3.
Okay.
There we go, 22.
22.
Okay. He tells you that he thinks that they've assembled at a camp of their own further down the road. to the east, at about 3 miles away.
Okay, so this is a great time for me to use my spell. Once he's out of, once he's out of the 100-foot range,
Mhm.
I will ritually cast the spell so he and I can communicate, and I get a sense of, where it's at, what it looks like, and how many of them there are, just to confirm.
Okay, so you're able to see through his senses, right?
Yep.
And did I read that you made it in such a way that you can only see or hear, but not both, and you have to switch between them?
Yeah, I kind of kept
Did I
it.
understand that?
Yeah, I kept it like the Find Familiar spell. I didn't make it. I mean, maybe it's a third level spell and it could do both at the same time.
I think it can do both.
All right,
honestly,
I'll change the
it
wording
doesn't
then.
seem like it doesn't seem like it's too much. I think you can see
Okay.
and hear. You can't communicate as him or through him,
Right.
but you can see and hear. Okay, so you hear these guys talking, the four of them, and they're like, someone's like blaming one of the other guys for them getting made.
Mhm.
Like, well, if you weren't such a buffoon making so much noise in the woods. But so some things you notice about them, that they're speaking in the common tongue. Their accent is different. It's definitely not like, these are definitely not Flan. You can tell in the night that they're not natives of Tenh.
Okay.
They're definitely, they look very different, and but they're not wearing any obvious heraldry. You think they're outfitted as like scouts of sorts.
Okay.
And then after that, you listen and watch for a few more minutes. They're definitely sitting at their own camp, and they have not, like, they contemplate making a fire, and they're like, well, that's how we found them, you idiots. No, we're not making a fire tonight, but I'm hungry and I want hot food, and they complain about that for a bit. But you do not see any signs of heraldry that identify them as anybody or as part of any larger force.
And how many are there?
There were no others there. There are just four. So all four left, and all four came back to camp.
Okay. Yeah. So I
They're very, they have very light equipment.
Do they have any horses?
Yes.
Okay. So I relay.
All right,
I relay all this to.
Let's murder them.
Horse thieves. You guys are terrible. We're gonna outfit our guys. Just all we gotta do is get enough encounters. We'll outfit them.
We've suddenly turned into murder hobos.
They were kind of coming up.
What's wrong with that?
Good with it.
Hey, they started it.
All right.
Well,
Well,
say
guy-
like me and Sean and Cormac could probably just sneak in and steal all their shit.
Yeah, so
Okay,
so
funny.
I relay how many. I relay all that information to the group.
Okay.
Ooh,
We're going to end here. You guys can decide what you want to do about them. Before we get together next time.
Take off charging.
Where are they, on the road? Okay, no problem. Off you go.
Well, he just said he told the group, so I'm out.
see him break hot.
Or I got him.
Bring back the horses when you're done. Don't eat them.
Everybody goes back to sleep.
Right.
All right. Okay. We'll play again next week, guys.
All
Okay.
right, later.
Bye bye.